Chapter 21, Good morning. MC looks the person on the cover art. He is wearing a black compression t-shirt and jeans right now. What brings you 2-3 here? May I offer you some coffee? Alfred is a real pro when it comes to making a beverage that will refresh you and knock your socks off, Bruce said with a welcoming bright smile. He truly was a handsome sly man of such epic proportions. You know what, I'll have the coffee if it is as good as you say. Nick Fury winked his eye with a slight smirk, which was weird because it was like seeing a polite pirate asking for coffee. Trust me, it will be good. All of you come right this way, Bruce instructs them as he heads over to a golden table. At the moment Bruce was wearing a $30,000 black and navy blue business suit. He was ready to slay many woman hearts and close million-dollar deals. So what do you want to talk about? You have to make it quick since I have a business meeting in about 20 minutes, Bruce politely says as in a business-like manner he looks at his golden customized bow tie Rolex watch which cost him a whopping $20 million? Well, then I will make this fast and clear. I want you to develop a prototype project for me that would be useful for organization. Nick Fury rubs his goatee beard and leans in closer to Bruce to show that he was serious. He hands over a silver USB drive. When Nick Fury meets you in person you know something is up. Either it is bad or good news, it didn't matter. He doesn't play any games. He cuts to the chase. No bullshit. What project are we exactly talking about? Bruce crosses one leg in style and leans back on his fancy table chair. Alfred walks in between the conversation and places down cups of coffee for everyone. Jake slowly creeps out the door. He didn't want to deal with this shit right now. The last person he wanted to see was Nick Fury. And to add more fire to the already smoldering flames, Commissioner Gordon was right next to him along with his voluptuous banging hot daughter. Jake couldn't help but stare at her luscious busted breasts and gorgeous snow-white angelic face. She looked like a woman who could hold herself. A smart and cunning vixen. Jake was inches away from the backyard door of the mansion. Where are you going? Why don't you join us? Bruce exclaims with a clever smile. He caught Jake like a bat finding a spider coming out of its burrow. Damn, you are a sharp Batman. Jake gritted his teeth and sighed as he walks over the three guests' direction. Barbara lightly smiles as she sees a very handsome and well-toned muscular Jake sit next to her. He didn't want to sit near two law officials who would swiftly arrest him after they figure out the horrendous crimes he had done. So is this your son? You never talk about having a son, Commissioner Gordon said as he takes a sip from of coffee. Bruce having a son? No way. Nick Fury loudly shouts as he takes a sip of coffee. Damn, this is some motherfucking good coffee. He kicks up his legs as he enjoys Alfred's espresso. Everyone is quiet. Ahem, pardon my language. Nick Fury cleans his mouth with a grey handkerchief he pulls out from his black pants pockets. No, he is not my son. He is someone I am taking under my wing as my apprentice. Wayne Industries needs more bright minds. But I guess you can say he is kind of like my son. I did raise him to become a fine man, Bruce said with a slight cringe because he knew that what he said was far from the truth after Jake had brutally killed 3 mafia members. What is his name? Asked Barbara with a cute girly giggle. His name is Jake W. Bruce was about to say Wayne, but Jake quickly interrupted him. My name is Jake Justice, he confidently said as extended out his hands for Barbara to shake. Oh, a true gentleman. It's hard to find those nowadays. Barbara shakes Jake's hands with a bright smile. Her hands felt very smooth against Jake's rough hands which were lifting 10-ton steel beams last night. How about you two talk outside while we talk about important matters, Bruce Wayne said with a scolding stare at Jake. Sure, whatever. It's probably not important. Jake stands up and places his hands inside his jean pockets and heads toward the garden behind the mansion with Barbara. He rather talk with a beautiful girl than with 3 old men. Oh, haha, he kind of reminds me of you. Nick Fury slaps his knees as he laughs. Commissioner Gordon is quiet. He had something on his mind. He had a feeling that he had seen Jake's face before, especially those cold dark blue eyes. Not even close, Bruce angrily says as sips some coffee. Jake sits down with Barbara on the brickstone edge of a large swimming pool that was near the garden area. It was just the two of them. It was a beautiful sunny day outside. It had been a while since Jake had talked to a female. Barbara was wearing a short white tank top t-shirt that showed off her amazing slim stomach and big breasts. She was also wearing skin-tight cowgirl jean shorts. Jake actually wanted to ask Barbara some questions, mostly about this new world and other things. But he didn't really feel like talking to her right now. 5 minutes of awkward silence. So you are not much of a talker. Barbara swings back her long silky scarlet and bats her bright emerald doll eyes. Her glossy black and red lips were close to his face as she talked to him. They were sitting very close together. He could smell her rosy perfume. She was like a mini poison ivy. She was kind of shorter, like 5,6 while Jake was 6,4. Girls with glasses really can be sexy, especially Barbara. But I can't fall for her tricks. And most of all, I can't fall in love with her or I am fucking screwed. Actually, I can't fall in love with anyone. Jake cringes at the thought of being hunted down by Gordon and the police. The last thing he wanted to do was kill a bunch of law enforcement officers. Killing gangsters were different than killing innocent lives. But then anything that didn't justify his actions. Jake was standing on a thin line of spiderwebs that would eventually snap if he didn't do things smartly. Put it simply, he had no time for love. I got to go. Jake stands up. Wait, Barbara quickly grabs Jake's hands so he won't go anywhere. You look like someone I know, she seductively whispers into Jake's ears. Chapter 22, It's coming. You look like someone I know, she seductively whispers into Jake's ears. That's cool, but I really have to go somewhere. Jake pushes aside Barbara. Your eyes, they remind me so much of the person who saved my life. I don't know how to explain it, but you really look like my type. Barbara wickedly smiles and winks as she kisses Jake on the cheek. Her pillowy lips were very soft and felt warm against Jake's cheeks. She was alluring. You got to be kidding me. I don't have time for this. Jake's face looked collected and serious, but he was holding back from kissing Barbara on the lips. She was very attractive for her age and Jake was about the same age range, maybe older by 1 year. But he knew that hooking up with the commissioner's daughter would only make things worse for him. Well, I guess we will be meeting again. Barbara slowly walks away back inside the mansion with a flustered face. Her cheeks were beet red from how much she was blushing. She couldn't believe she kissed some random boy on the cheeks. Yet she loved being a bad chick. She was always raised up to be a good girl and excel at everything in life, but she was tired of holding up that image. She felt like she had a special connection with Jake. Before I go, can I get your number? Barbara turns back and Jake was gone. He got the fuck out as fast as possible. She sighed and grabbed her chest. Damn my good looks. I just want to become the most powerful Spider-Man. Jake is hanging on top of the roof of Bruce's 5-story mansion. He had quickly shot a web to get away from Barbara. Anyways, what is Nick Fury and Commissioner Gordon talking about with Bruce Wayne? Jake presses his ears down the roof tiles and tries to pick up the sound waves of all three of their voices so he could hear what they are talking about. His spider sense could pick up any sound vibrations from a mile away, but it could also pick up sound waves through walls and buildings. It was a very useful power that could be used to take down criminals. Spider sense voice reader. Bruce Wayne, I will look into the project you are talking about, but first, why would you ask me to do it? Why not my other many competitors? Nick Fury, well, Stark hasn't really been in contact with me. In fact, he has locked down and shut down any type of contact. He has gone dark. But to be honest, I think your technologies are better suited for the project I am working on. You see, this kind of project is unorthodox. Not even the Avengers know about it. Bruce Wayne, Avengers? Who are they? Sounds like a cheesy name. Nick Fury, seems like I gave out a little too much information. Bruce, I want to be honest with you, because I believe that being honest and truthful is the right thing to do. I never tell a lie because I know it is wrong to give out misinformation that would only hinder my main objective. Bruce, we both know how screwed up this world is now after the cosmic event, and I want to change that. There is a powerful presence that will soon arrive on this planet. We need to prepare with every weapon we got. Comey Sonar Gordon, what are you talking about? What could be more dangerous than gang violence, terrorist attacks, and villains? Nick Fury, trust me, you don't want to know. Anyways, the deal is on the table, Mr. Wayne. Just know I deliver. Name any amount. Bruce Wayne, I think our little meeting has come to an end. I have to be going now, but I will think about your offer and show my best inventor the blueprints of your prototype project. Anything you want to say, Commissioner? You haven't asked anything. Commissioner Gordon, not really, it's just. Do you mind if we talk another time in private? Bruce Wayne, of course I don't mind, but next time schedule an appointment, I am a rather busy man. Jake was thinking about what project Nick Fury was working on. So the Avengers really do exist in this world, but will they be the same? In this world, Bruce is angry all the time and Tony Stark isn't talking to anyone? That doesn't sound like Stark to me. He jumps down from the roof and goes out a daily jog to clear his mind. When he comes back to the mansion, his first phase in becoming more powerful would begin. He had to speed up his evolution before this huge threat Nick Fury was talking about would come to this planet. Jake had a good idea/feeling on who was this powerful presence that Nick Fury was so afraid about. After 30 minutes of spiriting, Jake returns back into the mansion through the main doors. He didn't want to sneak inside his room because that would cause too much suspicion on broad daylight. Jake simply opened the mansion front door with some keys Bruce had given him the first day when he was reborn. Jake walks around the mansion and he sees all the expensive artwork, marble pillars/walls, and golden stairs. The whole mansion oozed Playboy. Of course, Bruce had to be over the top so that he could hide his secret identity of being Batman. Jake finds the secret bookcase compartment and presses down a red level to open the bookcase and reveal a flight of steel stairs. After a few steps downstairs, he reaches the Batcave and heads directly to his room. At this time, Jake had already hidden everything in his room, so if Batman went in, then he would find nothing that related to fighting crime. Even his laptop and power suit was well hidden. Bruce was gone and most likely at his company at his important meeting. This gives Jake enough time to prepare for his first hunt. He goes to his room and he is suddenly blocked by a huge figure in the shadows. The figure had jumped from the ceiling of the Batcave and landed fist down on the rocky ground right in front of Jake to stop him from entering his room. Jake slides back his legs and gets in a kung fu combat stance. So I see you were talking with a young lady. You need this. Batman comes out from the shadows and takes a box from his utility belt and hands it over to Jake. It was a box of condoms. Or in this case, Batdoms. It's always good to be safe. I've figured since you are growing up that you will need this just in case it happens. Batman walks off into the darkness. What the actual fuck? Jake tosses away the box into the garbage can and goes inside his room. How many things does he have in that belt? Jake was now going to go full force on training his powers, evolving, and hunting down criminals. Every day from now on was going to be used to become smarter and powerful. Chapter 23, The Hunt. 1, 2, 3, Jake starts shooting symbiote spider webs at the walls of his room from both of his wrists. He was counting how long it took to fire each spider web without stopping. So to shoot 3 spider webs it takes only 3 seconds from the moment I press my palms it actives the trigger. So it takes 1 second to shoot 1 web. How about I try this? Jake does a fierce forward air punch. About 5 long blackish spider webs burst out from each of his knuckles like a shotgun blast. A spiderweb shotgun. The symbiote spider webs slam hard against the brick walls of his room and actually melt the wall. It was like a bunch of nanobots were eating the walls of Jake's room. Holy shit, my Spider-Man and symbiote powers are powerful. I can actually evolve my attack tactics when I want to fire out spider webs. Jake spins around on his office chair with a giddy smirk. He then jolts down a bunch of prototype designs on his notebook to construct an advanced web shooter that would boost the strength and fire rate of his spider webs. Jake then turns on his laptop to transfer the first $15 million to his bank account. After that was done, he searched for Barbara Gordon's address. Not to be a stalker, but just in case she figures out that Jake was the one who killed the mafia men who captured her, he could find her and silence her. He wanted no one to jeopardize his plans to take over this world. One of Barbara's profile pictures on Peoplebook was with another girl who looked exactly like the blonde girl Jake had saved from the masked mafia men. That's strange. Jake scrolls down and looks at her information. Barbara was studying to be a detective just like her father, and she had a long list of achievements. She really was a smart girl, almost genius level. A sly sexy vixen. Alright, enough of that. Jake rebooted his MacBook and decided that today was a perfect day for hunting down criminals. Jake waited until nightfall to take action, as most crimes happen at night. During his leisure time, Jake was ordering a whole bunch of parts, fuels, and minerals to build a power suit that would be on the level of Tony Stark's Mark III Iron Man suit. He also was listening to some Metallica on his laptop to pump himself up. Jake's attitude was one that was over the edge, but not by much. He used his smarts to make himself look like a normal teenager. It was all part of the plan. If anything, the mindset he used the most was his military and Navy SEAL mindset. Jake stopped typing and looks outside the window. There was a full moon. Hunting time. Jake puts on the power suit he had used before in his first mission, but this time he designed the front of the suit with a crimson spider emblem and a V-arrow shape in the middle right below the spider with webbing linings surrounding the emblem, which were actually made with reinforced symbiote spider webs. A/N, like the cover art. But MC was a black mask over mouth and nose, so his carbon fiber/tungsten power suit was fused with his symbiote powers. Jake snapped his fingers and the power suit flew onto his whole upper body in one quick motion. It was like his body was a magnet. He did this by controlling his symbiote powers and do some sort of force pull. Overall, it was a flashy way to put on a power suit. Jake goes through an escape door which he had created himself and leaves the Batcave. Eventually Jake would analyze Bruce Wayne's weapons and he would meet the inventor of his weapons, the pioneering genius Lucius Fox. Woohoo! Jake swings away into the dark skies, flying past several apartment buildings. He felt so free and alive. This was the time where he can use all his powers and bring justice upon this world. He was reborn for a reason. Jake swings across buildings, malls, apartments, houses, and city streets bustling with human citizens. The moon and stars were right behind him as he swings away with his spiderweb slingers. He finally lands on top of a building. He stands up tall on the highest skyscraper, Stark Industries. In Gotham City, the whole world was seen from this position. This was his domain. The skies belonged to him. Alright, this better work. Jake puts on a black mask over his mouth and then turns on his newly bought iPhone. He had installed the sonar machine inside it. The reasons why he was so up high was so that he could pick up every telecommunications device frequency in Gotham. In about 1 minute his phone was beeping with a large number of crime spottings. Showtime. Jake jumps off the top of Stark Industries and dives down. A blast of wind smacks up against his face. His sapphire eyes were focus and determination to gain more power. Jake swings through a giant glass window of an art museum and finally embarks on his first hunt. Chapter 24. The Hunt PT2. Jake crawls on top of the brick ceilings of the art museum on all fours in a crotchet assassin position, just like a spider. His spider senses were tingling. Every single one of the spider hairs in his body jolted straight up. Jake could sense the presence of a powerful being. He clenched his fist and crawled ahead towards the direction of the powerful presence. Each step he took he could feel the vibrations and see the sound waves echoing out of his feet. He followed these sound waves, which kind of acted like a GPS that was inside of his mind. Soon Jake was at a perfect spot for an ambush. About 5 men who were wearing skull masks and black jackets entered the museum. They were being led by 2 mysterious figures. Each of them carried different kinds of weapons. Shotguns, handguns, submachine guns, and one even carried a katana. One of the 2 mysterious figures had a scarecrow face and was wearing a worn-out brown and green t-shirt that was ripped to shreds. He looked way too homeless to be leading around a couple of crooks. Next to this scarecrow figure was a nerdy doctor who had goofy long blonde hair and thick glasses. Is my spider senses really working? I thought there were some powerful villains here that I can take down. Not these chumps. Jake gritted his teeth. His face and body were hidden in the shadows above the group of men who plotting something sinister. I hope that lady comes with the goods or she will have hell to pay, says the scarecrow man as angrily walks around in circles. She will. Our big boss has her tied up in a thick rope, she can never escape, says the nerdy doctor as he tips up his thick glasses. I work alone. I don't need any boss to tell me what to do, snarls the Scarecrow man as he clenches his fist. A mist of darkish gas swirls around his body. Don't tell me that's fear gas. So that must be Scarecrow, and I don't know who exactly the doctor is, but he doesn't look anything like Dr. Octavius. Jake shifted the colors of his eyes with symbiote powers. His eyes changed from a dark piercing blue to a dark silver. He didn't feel like taking down these low-tier villains, but he was already here so he might as well. Peekaboo, I found you, says a sexy seductive voice from behind Jake's ears. Her cool breeze prickles the skin on his ears and neck. A woman with flawlessly long platinum snow blonde hair that dangled over her gorgeous vixen emerald eyes and pale goddess face was hanging on the ceiling next to Jake. She was wearing a skin-tight black leather jacket bodysuit that had white cat fur on the sides of the jacket collar. This zipped-down scantily clad leather bodysuit dress showcased her busty watermelon breasts and thick muscular thighs as well as her curvy well-defined ass. She also had an hourglass figure with a toned stomach. She looked like a fearsome snow cougar. Jake doesn't move an inch. You smell good, says the platinum blonde bombshell as she playfully licks Jake's ears. Jake is stunned that someone had found out his hiding spot and it was a very banging hot lady who had found him. Things were about to get feisty. The Dark Spider and the Black Cat meet for the first time. Chapter 25, The Hunt Finale. Jake was silent. What cat got your tongue? Black Cat says with a cheeky smile. Her eye mask goggles, like in the Spider-Man PS4 video game, get closer to Jake's face. You should really check out your blind spot, Jake said with a wide dark grin from under his mouth balaclava. Huh. Black Cat said with her pretty emerald's eyes furrowed. She looked at Jake whose whole body actually exploded into thousands of symbiote tentacles. Black Cat was talking to a symbiote clone the whole time. Jake had figured out a while back that he could use his symbiote powers to create clones of himself, but he hadn't fully tested out this method. So he was only able to create one symbiote clone that looked exactly like him. It was a genius tactic. He knew that there would be someone nearby with his spider senses, so that is why he made a symbiote clone. Kind of like a shadow clone except made with sentient symbiotic tentacles. Black Cat quickly jumps back from the symbiote clone with a panther back lunge, but she was swiftly captured by the blackish alien tentacles. Thousands of symbiote tentacles wrapped around her body all way up to her neck and mouth. Only her head was poking out the mass of deadly wriggling symbiotes. All of this happened silently on top of the ceiling of the museum. Jake had trained his symbiote powers not to make too much noise. Plus Black Cat and him were both wearing black gear, so they were perfectly hidden in the dark. Give me one good reason not to kill you, Jake coldly says as his sliver eyes pierce Black Cat's very soul. So you are the rough type. I love playing rough. Black Cat teased Jake with a sly wink. She could barely talk or breathe since her mouth was covered by Jake's symbiote tentacles. Jake looks down and sees the crooks slowly drill a bulletproof, highly reinforced glass window that kept one of the most expensive paintings in Gotham. How about we work together and take those goons down? We can split the profit 50-50ths. Sound nice? Black Cat mumbles as Jake's symbiotes were choking her frail neck. He could easily snap her neck in half and kill her in an instant. But his days of killing were over. For now, that is. Killing someone would only spread more suspension and reveal Jake's identity quicker. So Jake thought of another way to get rid of his enemies. I don't work with anyone, Jake sharply replied. I promise I won't tell anyone that we work together. Those bastards below us are trying to get what I have hidden. Black Cat emerald eyes shift over to her lower waist. She was pointing at something with her eyes. There was something kind of USB device poking out of the pocket of tight leather pants. Jake could see through her bodysuit with his spider sight powers. What exactly do you have hidden? Jake's interest was piqued. He loosens the symbiotes out her mouth. He wanted to know what inside of the USB. It's a top secret blueprint. They were waiting for me to give it to them for the exchange of my freedom, Black Cat says with a slight cough. She was getting her breath back after being choked by Jake's symbiote tentacles. Jake doesn't answer. Instead, he extended his right fist forward like he was preparing to punch someone. So are we going to work together or what? I promise I don't bite, Black Cat seductively whispers into Jake's ears. He doesn't flinch and just jumps down without listening to a word the feisty woman had to say. Her sexy talk would not deter him from his mission. Jake lands fist down in front of the crooks who drilling through the bulletproof glass window. Who the fuck are you? One skull-masked man says as he points his shotgun at Jake. In a flash, Jake punches his right fist forward and shoots a shotgun blast of 5 symbiote webs from his knuckles in just 1 second. His 5 symbiote webs quickly wrapped around the 5 skull-masked men as they fired away. What the fuck is this? All of their eyes shook with fear as their bodies were slammed against the walls of the museum by the symbiote spider webs. The symbiote spider webs wrapped around the masked men's faces and bodies. Soon all of their bodies were consumed by Jake's symbiote powers. Jake didn't kill them. Instead, he encased their bodies in a funnel spiderweb of wiggling, wrathing symbiotes. Black Cat watches Jake in action with her jaws dropped. She had never seen such powerful powers in her life. What the hell are you doing? Get him! Scarecrow roars out as he points at Jake. The 3 remaining skull mask men all fired their weapons at Jake. A swarm of bullets zoomed towards Jake, who didn't move a damn inch. He wasn't fazed at all as the bullets came his way. Jake easily absorbs all of the bullets with one of his palms lifted up in the air. Hundreds of bullets were being sucked into his palms by his symbiote powers. Jake then fired back the bullets at the masked men. He aims for only their arms and legs to immobilize them. Gaya. screamed out all three of the masked men as they fell down on the marble floors of the museum in pain and gripped their bloody bullet wounds. You got to be kidding me. Scarecrow runs towards Jake and tosses a canister of fear gas at Jake's face. An explosion of blackish and yellowish hallucination gas surrounded Jake's body. Ha ha ha, now see your worst nightmares. Scarecrow sickly laughs with his head wickedly raised up in the air and both his arms spread apart in a victorious pose. Jake just walks right through the fear gas without a care in the world and fiercely punches Scarecrow right in the face. Scarecrow's teeth flew out of his mouth and his body flew past several marble pillars until he slams against the protective glass window of a famous painting. Scarecrow was knocked out cold just by one punch. One punch Spider-Man. Jake was immune to any kind of poison, gases, and even biological/bioweapon viruses. On top of that, he could regenerate his wounds at a fast rate, but he hadn't tested that out yet since no one was strong enough to beat him up. Maybe only Batman. Jake wanted to fight tougher opponents. To him Scarecrow was just easy prey to hunt. The doctor with blonde hair sprints towards Jake and transforms into a lizardman. I am going to kill you. The lizardman hisses as his razor-sharp claws go to slash Jake's head off. Jake turns around and his masked face gets slashed by the lizardman. Bahaha, I got you. The lizard chuckles as he goes for another slash to kill Jake. Jake slowly turns his head to face the lizardman. A row of symbiotes started to regenerate Jake's mask and light scratch marks that barely pierced his skin, which was shielded by millions of symbiotes. He was indestructible. He extended out his left arm at Lizardman and shoots out one spider web from his wrist Spidey style. The symbiote web tangles around Lizardman and then Jake swings Lizardman's body towards himself and actually devours Lizardman's body. I will be taking your powers, Jake said as Lizardman's giant scaly reptilian body entered Jake's mouth. Millions of symbiotes wrapped around his body and devoured him into a sea of darkness. Lizardman was absorbed inside of Jake's body. He was not killed, rather he was inside an endless void of symbiotes that trapped him inside of an inescapable prison of blackish sentient alien tentacles. It was like Lizardman was caged inside a shadow pit for eternity. Jake absorbed all of Lizardman's powers, so that means he could use the lizard's speed, stamina, agility, and reflexes to boost himself even more, making him more powerful than before, but the lizard had low-tier powers, so it was more of a quick boost than anything. Jake didn't bother absorbing Scarecrow's powers and instead, he absorbed his body into his symbiote shadow realm with the lizard, but he didn't fuse his powers into his symbiote bloodstream. After Jake absorbed the two lower-tier villains, he shots out his spider webs to wrap around all of the masked crooks and hung their bodies outside of the art museum on a tall street lamp. He did this so the law enforcement could deal with these crooks and take them to jail. Jake wanted his superpowers to be known so he could attract the attention of more powerful villains. He didn't want to deal with small fries anymore. As Jake goes to swing away into the night and go back to his hideout, a skull-masked man slashes his katana at Jake's neck. He was hiding the whole time when Jake was fighting off Scarecrow and the lizard. Out of nowhere, Black Cat Tiger kicks the masked man on his cheeks and knocks him out. Whem? Did you miss me? Black Cat said while swooshing back her long fabulous snowy platinum blonde hair. Jake doesn't say a word. He was holding a USB that he stole from Black Cat when she wasn't looking. It was the top secret blueprint she was talking about. On top of that, Jake had stolen some evolution serums from the lizard after he had absorbed his pitiful lizard evolution body. Hey, that's mine. Black Cat growls as she angrily gritted her pearly white teeth. Jake could see the anger and rage in her emerald eyes. Not anymore. Jake shots a spider web from his wrists and quickly swings onto a nearby 50 feet apartment complex and vanishes into the night. Chapter 26, Evolution. Jake enters the mansion wearing his original black compression t-shirt and some tattered jean pants. He also had a black school backpack slung over his shoulders which had all his gear inside. His power suit, stolen items, weapons, and cash. The top secret advanced USB drive he stole from Black Cat was hidden inside his symbiote void realm. He looked like any normal teenager, only that inside his backpack was a whole bunch of deadly weapons and dangerous serums as well. Jake quickly absorbed the backpack inside his palms. Symbiote tentacles grow out of his palms and sucked in the backpack into the void realm. It was really late at night as he stealthily crouched and rolled across the mansion like a spider ninja. His spider senses weren't triggered, so Batman wasn't nearby. Not like he was afraid to meet him. Batman must have known that Jake was up to something. But he didn't know what Jake was exactly doing. Jake had covered all of his tracks. He had only told Batman/Bruce Wayne that he would be at the gym or some abandoned area training his superpowers. There was a number of things Jake did to cover up his lies, but for the most part, Batman didn't care about what Jake did. Batman had his own important problems to worry about. The Joker was running rampant and many other villains both from the D.C and Marvel worlds were spreading like wildfire after being transmigrated/fused into this new world. It was like both the D.C and Marvel worlds had been coexisting for a very long time. Jake was very confused about the timeline of events. All he knew was that the year was 2020 and he was in some fusion world of D.C and Marvel that was filled with powerful superhero and villains. Jake had to be prepared at every second. He wondered if this insanely brutal world was taking its toll on Batman. Batman was never home and always hunting down criminals, kind of like Jake. Well, I guess he is not here. Jake takes some food from the fridge and goes downstairs to his lair, or in this case the Batcave. This place looks freaky when it's empty. Kind of like some Blade Runner shit. Jake looks at all the supercomputers, dangerous gadgets laid across metal tables, and all of his customized power suits which were in cryopods. Batman's heavy artillery and vehicles were hidden from plain sight. Jake couldn't spot them anywhere, not even with his spider sight. Jake stops for 1 second while holding his treasure trove of fancy foods on both of his hands. Truth be told, Jake was living the good life in Bruce Wayne's mansion. It was a paradise. He could do whatever he wanted here. Hell, he could even have a massive orgy in the mansion by throwing the biggest party ever alive. Imagine all the sexy busty girls both from the D.C and Marvel worlds buck naked all caressing each other's huge bosoms and massive thick plump asses. Jake wouldn't mind seeing Black Cat and Barbara Gordon going at it with him. Even though Black Cat and Black Widow sounded like a even better combo, in fact, it sounded like a dream come true. Jake shook his head to get rid of all the dirty thoughts and then stops dead on his tracks once more. His silver eyes now transformed back to a dark frost blue. In the corner of his eyes, he spotted one of Batman's supercomputer on. He walks over to the computer and types like a madman to hack into the supercomputer's main database with his super genius brain. It took about 10 minutes to hack into Batman's supercomputer. It wasn't easy to do. For most humans, it would have taken years to hack into. It would have taken Peter Parker months to hack in Batman's supercomputer. But not Jake. He was way too smart for his own good. Batman had about 10 main passwords that needed touch sensor access and retinal scan access. It wasn't hard to bypass this system since Jake could practically morph his hands and eyes to Bruce Wayne's traits with his symbiote evolution. During his battle with Bruce, he had actually copied his martial art moves and body form as well as eyes. Jake only needed to touch a person once or absorb a small amount of their blood. Also, Jake had some of Bruce Wayne's traits like his intellect fused with Tony Stark's. So hacking into Batman's supercomputer was a breeze. Also, Jake knew how to decode Batman's numerical codes. He was just a beast when it came to using his brain. Jake knew that he would have to control his emotions and rage if he were to win all of his fights. He couldn't let his emotions get in the way. Soon Jake would upgrade his system, but right now he wanted to see what Batman was up to. Plus he could use all the valuable information he finds in his supercomputer to help him build more powerful power suits and weapons as well as serums. In less than 5 minutes Jake had scanned and memorized all Batman's classified information with his speed mind skill. There was a ton of information to absorb. Needless to say, Jake had a huge headache after reading all of the information at such a fast rate. It was the equivalent of breezing through 10 million words/numbers in 5 minutes. Ugh, my head feels like it's going to explode. Way too much information, Jake groggily mumbled to himself as held onto his forehead and goes to take some painkillers he had gotten from Bruce Wayne's kitchen. What was Batman working on? I have never seen anything like that in my life, Jake said with a shocked face as he starts to remember what he saw in Batman's supercomputer. Was Batman really constructing a super Wii? Jake grabbed his forehead again and almost vomits out blood. Jake quickly rushes to the bathroom in his room and pukes out a spiral of wriggling symbiotes from his mouth. What the fuck just happened? What is going on with my symbiote powers? Jake looks at his hands and was shocked to see his hands were full of blackish hardened symbiote lizard scales. He even had razor-sharp symbiote claws. He had actually evolved. By absorbing other living beings, his symbiote and Spider-Man powers were able to evolve and become stronger. Jake pulls up his Spider-Man system. Spider-Man system. Race, human. IQ, 400, super genius. Evolution, symbiote, fusion variant, lizard. DNA, human, funnel web spider. Bloodline, rare unknown. Powers, super speed, super strength, 10-ton carrot, high reflex/jump, wall climb, web shooters, organic form, symbiote morphing, hardened symbiote scales, symbiote claws, shotgun web. Suits, 1 carbon fiber power suit, custom made. Forge, you can create your own gadgets and technology as well as power suits. Now unlocked STR, 25 plus 50, weight lifting 30 tons in total and taking down opponents, equals 75. Def, 20 plus 10 bonus, hardened lizard scale evolution, equals 40. AGI, 30 plus 20 equals 50. STM, 8 plus 20 equals 28. Intel, 30 plus 40, hacking and information overload, equals 70. Cam, 1. Skills. Augments, eyes spider sight. Can choose another eye augment. Chose 1 body frame, locked. Choices can imagine any body frame. Brain, speed mind, able to absorb information at a fast rate. Talking about an upgrade, I can finally use my forge. I also got a defensive evolution from devouring the lizardman. And now it looks like I can get another eye augment. Jake quickly goes inside his room and starts to customize his system. Chapter 27, Transmutation. Jake does some research on his laptop. He looks for different types of power suit designs and which ones would be best suited for his combat skills. His combat skills were mostly mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, kung fu, and military/Navy SEAL stealth combat skills. As he scanned for the best designs, he ordered an advanced 3D printer and some other forging materials. He didn't precisely know how the forge will work in his system, so he decided to buy extra equipment just in case. Millions of ideas were running through Jake's mind on how to increase his power, agility, reflexes, intellect, and defense. He wanted to create an eye augment that would work perfectly with these attributes, but he figured that obtaining his body augment would most likely increase the attributes listed above. So with that being notified, Jake formulates an eye augment that would be super powerful and useful during close and long-range combat. He jotted down a couple of ideas and soon came to a conclusion. He had spider sight, so why not have some kind of symbiote sight? Better yet, how about having an eye augment that could easily absorb opponents through some kind of abyssal tornado vortex? That's when it hit him. He could make a void portal with his own eyes. A darkness portal made entirely of symbiotes in which he could imprison all of his enemies and take their powers. This power reminded him of the god of all symbiotes, the primordial god of darkness, the creator of all black, the Necro's word and true god slayer, who was powerful enough to kill a celestial, Marvel, by slicing off its head clean off with a symbiote sword. Jake forgot this powerful god slayer's name, but he knew that this godly symbiote being's powers were what he exactly needed to outrank all of the Spider-Man evolutions. Jake's eyes literally widen with excitement and darkness overtakes him. He had to create this eye augment. But he knew it won't easy. Then again, life was never easy for him. For anyone. A real hero earns his power. Intelizing eye augment construction chimes Jake's system. Void eye / necro eye / slayer eye / I will think of names later. For now, let's create. Jake thinks to himself as he closes his eyes. In a matter of seconds, symbiote tendrils exploded out from his eyes. Jake screams out in pain and falls to the metal floor of his room. He knew that he had to endure this surging pain if he was to become stronger. Human blood spluttered all out of Jake's eyes as he gripped at his eyes in pain. The symbiotes were devouring Jake's own eyes. Asterisk crunch. Pop. Asterisk the sounds of his own eyeballs being devoured by millions of symbiote tendrils echoed across his room. Fuck. Jake rolls around on the ground in excruciating pain as he endures the static surge of symbiote powers entering his eyeballs. Soon a new pair of symbiotic eyes were reformed. His eyes were a fusion of human and symbiote living tissue, as well as his spider DNA superpowers, which were spread out evenly across his body. Jake had transmuted his own eyes and therefore he had created his new eye augment known as Void Eye. Void Eye abilities. Your eyes can absorb any life form and energy source inside of your Void Eye, which is an infinite void realm surrounded by darkness. An abyss in which no living being or atoms can escape. You can absorb gamma rays, atom particles, and even cosmic energy. Remember, you still have to absorb opponents' blood in order to fully gain their powers. Secondary power. You can shoot symbiote laser beams from eyes. A surge of dark beams made up of the energy you absorbed will be shot out from your eyes. This closely resembles Superman's heat ray vision, except it requires the energy absorbed to be transformed into a dark energy source. Jake scans the information and is astounded of his eye augment creation. This Void Eye really is overpowered. I should only use it against more powerful opponents. Damn, I wish I can get my body augment already. I can create the Necro's word if I change up my body form. I guess I have to cultivate more if I going to unlock my body augment. Jake walks over to the bathroom mirror and looks at his new pair of eyes. His whole face looked like a bloody mess. It looked as if his own face was eaten alive by the symbiote hive mind living inside his body. Jake had to be more alert so that the symbiotes won't overtake his body. God knows what kind of symbiote bloodline he had. His next course of action was to receive the Brazilian wandering spider and Black Widow radioactive bite, which he had an idea on how to get. Once Jake finished washing his face by splashing cold water on his face from the bathroom sink, he walks over to his iPhone X20 and starts to write down a list of powers he wants to take from other villains and even superheroes. His top list was unrealistic, but he figured that a Spider-Man can dream. His first evolution was almost done. Next up is my lizard DNA evolution. I can upgrade that into an Eastern dragon form. Jake changed up the genetic code of the lizard's DNA by using his system matrix/evolution grid. A/N, the lizard is a villain in the Spider-Man comics and movies. This is the lizardman Jake absorbed on his first hunt. Jake rearranged and spliced the DNA to create an Eastern Dragon DNA and bloodline. Lizard evolution upgrade to Eastern Dragon. Mid-tier Jake wasn't sure which powers he would gain from evolving the lizard DNA to a dragon's DNA, but he was guessing he could shoot out flames from his mouth. Or maybe even fly. Jake tried to shot fire out of his mouth, but nothing happened. He just keeps on blowing out air from his mouth like he was blowing out a candle. He looked ridiculous just blowing at nothing like he was smoking. Okay, guess I can't shot flames from my mouth. Not yet at least. How about flying? Jake swings out of his room with his spider webs shooting out from his wrists in a flawless lasso motion and then lands on the roof of Bruce Wayne's mansion. Alright, moment of truth. Life is all about taking risks. Jake jumps off the mansion and spreads out his arms like he was a dragon going to take flight. His face was inches away from the grassy ground below. Shit. He hollers out as he almost hits the ground. Suddenly his feet levitate slightly 10 feet above the ground. I can actually fly. Jake stops floating and lands flat on his face. Well, I can almost fly. He gets up with a face full of dirt. Some dirt gets in his mouth and he spits it out. Jake pulls up his system to see what went wrong. Eastern Dragon evolution, ability to fly and shot out flames from mouth fused with your Spider-Man and symbiote powers, increased power, strength, defensive, agility, sight, and reflexes. Abilities currently locked. Of course. I am Spider-Man after all. Well, now I am Spider-Dragon or a Spider-Man who is a dragon. Or whatever, doesn't matter, I just know I am more powerful than before. I can feel the insane amount of power of my Void Eye and Dragon evolution flowing throughout my body. My blood is burning with power. I am all fired up. Jake goes back into his room and starts to think about which kind of power suit he was going to forge. Asterisk ding, ding, asterisk Jake's iPhone rings like crazy with a bunch of text messages flooding his phone. Jake quickly snatches up his iPhone X20, the year is 2020, and looks at his text messages. One unknown number was sending blurred out picture files. Jake clicks on one of them. He sees Black Cat laying down in a seductive lustful pose in a couch made of gold with the expensive painting she had stolen with Jake hanging behind her. She was only wearing a flimsy towel over her naked shiny pale body and her long platinum blonde snowy hair was wet. She had just come out of the shower. Unknown number, you like what you see, winky face. I know where you live, kissing face, this bad kitty needs some love. I will be coming over soon. Jake instinctively deletes all of his Black Cat's naughty sex texts and half-nude scandalous pictures and blocks her number. How the fuck does she know my number? You sly bitch? She really is a nosy curious cat. But curiosity killed the cat and I am really thinking about killing her right now. Jake angrily clenched his fist. He was thinking about smashing his phone into bits, but it had all of his important information stored in it and it was also his direct link to make all of his money. Jake would always keep his cell phone next to him like any teenager. He would even sleep with the damn thing. And now it was tainted with Black Cat almost nude pictures. She was teasing him and it was kind of working. Jake looked down at his black jean pants and sees his dragon rising. He quickly goes to his bed and clears his mind and subdues his dragon. He mediates to calm himself down. I definitely need a skill like Gamer's Mind. Jake breathes out loudly. Suddenly the door of his room slams wide open and Batman enters his room. Fuck, this is the last person I want to see right now. Jake tilts to the side of his bed and pretends he is sleeping. Everything was hidden in his room, so it looked like a normal teenage room. I know that you did, Batman says with a dark deep collected voice that almost sounded like thunderbolts. It was a mix between exploding anger and calmness. Jake's spider sense was going off the radar. Chapter 28, Justice. Jake was silent and his eyes were closed with his back facing Batman. I know you are not asleep. You think I wouldn't notice you leaving your room late at night. All of my security cameras have been altered. I knew you bypassed the system to turn them off at the right time. God knows what else you have done, but you did do one thing right tonight. I saw you take down those robbers at the museum. It was all over the news and I can also track your movements when you wear the power suit I gave you, Batman said in a serious tone filled with disdain. His dark blue eyes also looked angered through his Batman horned mask. So Batman has been tracking me this whole time. He must have hidden a tracking chip so deep inside the power suit that my spider sight couldn't pick up the device. You really are a smart bastard. But not that smart. I wanted you to see my success as I easily took down those robbers all by myself. Jake has a slight smirk on his face. But even though you didn't kill the robbers and handed them over to the feds by hanging up all the robbers on a lamppost with your spider web powers, you did something else. Batman walks closer to Jake. Each step he took shook the ground. TCH. What exactly did I do? Besides kick ass, Jake finally stands up from his bed and looks at Batman directly in the eyes. There were 2 villains sighted in that museum. After you took down the robbers, the villains suddenly disappeared. What did you do to them? Batman points his finger at Jake. I don't know what you are talking about. Now let me go to sleep already. It's been a long day fighting all of the criminals. You should have taken down yourself, Jake confidently said as he flicked the top of his nose. At this moment Jake had fully regenerated his eyes and entire wounds on his face and body, so nothing looked off about him. What did you do to Scarecrow and the Lizard? Batman slams Jake against the wall and raises his fist up in the air to punch Jake square in the face. I said I did nothing. I know I already did something wrong when I killed those mafia men before, but it had to be done. That is the only time that will ever happen again. A hero does not kill unless he has to. Just like you, Jake tightly grips Batman's armored wrists and takes off Batman's hands from his black t-shirt. Batman was wearing his carbon fiber Nomex batsuit at the moment. You are right. I once broke my rule to not kill anyone, but I did it to protect you from the ones who wanted to kill you when you appeared out of the multiverse portal. Now I try to change every day. It's not easy to do the right thing. Maybe you can change as well. I hope you are not lying to me. In this world, corruption is spreading like an incurable disease, like a never-ending wildfire. We have to be ones who can protect everyone who cannot fight against such evil. Not as heroes, but as protectors of this world. Batman puts his hands on top of Jake's shoulders in a fatherly way. It was like a master and his pupil moment. Soon Jake would be the one to take on Batman's legacy. That's if he wanted to. Batman doesn't forget about his security cameras being messed with and is still on the lookout for the villains that Jake devoured with his symbiote powers. He also was keeping a close eye on Jake, but he felt like there wasn't much he could do to change Jake. Batman wasn't the type to care about others that much. He had his problems to deal with, mostly relating to the widespread crime in Gotham. If anything, Jake was helping him out by taking down criminals, but Jake's approach was more brutal and merciless. Jake, remember, we can only change ourselves from within. You can forge your own path. You can't change your past, but you can change your future. Do not let your vengeance fuel you. I know you want to destroy the ones who killed your family, but that will only breed more hatred. I was once the same. Do not let your hatred and rage get the best of you. Eventually, we can team up together again and rid this world of evil. I can help you train your combat skills and superpowers. Tell me, what do you fight for, Jake? Batman said with a sharp direct glare that meant he was overly serious. for justice, was all that Jake said. He actually meant those words. His mission was still to become the most powerful Spider-Man in existence, but he also wanted to rid the world of evil just like Batman. In Jake's past life, the amount of corrupt and horrendous things that happened to him was far too much to count. In this world, Jake wanted to change this stigma and bring justice to the ones who trample on the weak and slaughter innocent lives. The only difference between Jake and Batman was their methods on how to stop crime. So will you join me? Batman asked with his eyebrows furrowed through his mask. It was apparent that Batman had just come back from a mission to take down Poison Ivy, as his whole batsuit was covered in thick poisonous rose vines. He looked like he just got in a scuffle with a titan tree. Luckily for Batman, his power suit protected him from Poison Ivy's poisonous vines. If anything, he probably had an anti-venom in his utility belt. I won't be your sidekick. I work alone. I get more done when no one is in my way. I think I can hunt down villains and criminals better than you ever can. Jake grinned as he points at Batman. So you think you are a smart one? Batman replies with a scowl. I know I am smart, Jake confidently said with a cool smirk. He had some dirt on Batman. Especially all the hidden files he had about Batman creating a super weapon. This was some classified stuff. Jake wondered why Batman would need such a powerful bioweapon that was almost powerful enough to kill Superman. That's what you think, but you have much to learn. In about a month I want you out of here. If you want to know anything, then ask me. For now, we go our separate ways. Batman walks out Jake's room while fiercely swinging his cape to the side. Yeah, we do. Jake looks at his hands. The blood in his veins was a now blackish red shadow color. The symbiotes in his body were getting more powerful each second. I will still remember the lives you took. Don't think this is over yet. Just learn from the wrong things you have done and you will become a better protector, Batman said as he leaves out the metal door of Jake's room. Before Batman leaves Jake's room, he glances over at Jake's iPhone, which was still ringing like crazy with blackmail. Fucking crazy bitch. Jake's spider side eyes shifted to the side and saw more spam text messages from Black Cat. Black Cat mail. Batman sees one sex text picture with Black Cat sexily bending down and cooking a pie or something, who knows. Her massive plum shape ass is seen in full display. She was wearing skin-tight ripped jean shorts, which her thick milky thighs were seen sticking out, and the outline of her ass Sirac was seen close up. Her flesh mountains were bursting out her tight white button t-shirt. She wasn't wearing any kind of disguise or mask. She was just wearing shorts and a see-through white button t-shirt in which her black corset bra could be seen. So you attract the crazy girls. I guess we both have the same curse. Batman slightly smirks and walks off. Jake angrily rubs his forehead. You know what? Fuck it. He finally texted Black Cat and arranges to meet her somewhere in a week. It was still late in the night and Jake couldn't sleep. So he does the next best thing. Let's cultivate my new powers. Jake puts on his power suit and a black mask over mouth. He then forms a black visor made out of symbiotes to cover his eyes. The only reason why Jake didn't fully wear a Spider-Man mask was that it would bring too much attention to him. Plus, masks weren't that useful during combat. It was more an aesthetic thing. He had more breathing room without a full-fledged helmet/mask on. Besides, his billions of symbiotes could protect his godly handsome face when he was in danger. That was a close call with Batman. My whole operation would have been compromised if figure out all the messed up shit I've done. I am surprised that he didn't notice that I hacked into his supercomputer and devoured Scarecrow and the Lizard. Not like he will find out anyways. I always cover my tracks. Now this sonar radar will be able to find a villain of a high tier. I need to speed up my evolution. Jake used his cell phone to find a large signal signature that was top priority in the crime watch list. He quickly found a huge disturbance with his spider sense rising. With the sonar device he stole from Batman, he was able to pinpoint the exact location of this disturbance in power on his cell phone. It felt exactly like the power he felt back in the museum at his first solo mission. Who could it be? This power is exactly what I need. Jake swings out of his room by shooting out a spider web from his wrists onto a nearby tree branch and heads to the direction of this powerful power signature. His first real challenge was approaching. Chapter 29, Justice PT2. Jake flawlessly web slings all across Gotham City, right past zooming cars and under train tunnels as his dark brown hair flutters with the wind. He swings on top of apartment buildings and even jumps off skyscrapers and lands on top of other skyscrapers, taking the longest jumps ever. He could probably jump the distance of half a mile. So not only could he swing around the city like a spider/monkey, but he could also jump very high. Together with these two methods, he could almost travel faster than just flying around Gotham. After all, swinging across the city was more useful since Jake could see everything that was going on in the city at a much closer view, as well as using his spider webs to sense the vibrations of nearby villains. It took about 5 minutes for Jake to reach the destination of the powerful power signature his sonar device on his cell phone spotted. This should be the place. Jake hangs upside down on a tall marine docking bay lamppost near a docking marine building where a bunch of ex-servicemen, once were soldiers, who were loading up metal cargo containers onto a large cargo ship. Jake used his spider sight to sense what was in the containers and found out each of them carried some kind of sub-zero explosives. He knew this because the area around him was cold as heck. Even his spider hairs around his forearms were jolting up. These people are from a terrorist group, the same ones who were at the art museum and kind of like the ones I fought off with Batman. The difference is that their gear is way more advanced. Those must be biosuits of some sort. Jake scans the ex-servicemen. They were wearing white and black carbon biosuits with a generator in the back of it, kind of like Iron's Mark III power suit, except a lower quality. A gust of frosty mist expelled out from all the soldiers' backs. It was like their power suits were fused with nitrogen. Each soldier carried some high-tech submachines that had some glowing icy liquid in the middle of the barrel. What are those guns? Jake cracked his knuckles. Doesn't matter to me. But where is that high-power signature? I don't see it around here. He was about to jump down when someone slapped his ass. Hey darling. I am back for more. That's quite the firm butt you got. You work out a lot. Black Cat had actually slapped Jake's ass when he was hanging upside down on a lamppost. You know spiders have more tricks than cats. Jake is right behind Black Cat and fiercely slaps her massive luscious well-toned ass, which wildly jiggles and bounces everywhere inside her skin-tight black leather shiny bodysuit. Her black high heels barely kept her body aligned from how hard Jake slapped her firm curvy ass. Ouch, you really hit hard. I like that. Black Cat turns around and faces Jake, who was standing on a tiger pounce position on a brick building's rooftop. Her pillowy glossy lips seductively grin and she starts to blush with a flustered face while rubbing her spanked ass. I forgot you had that clone trick. You really are a sly one. You remind me of someone but much darker and mysterious. That body, that overly handsome face, and those spider powers you have really takes my breath away. Black Cat gently rubs Jake's chin in a sexy manner. Her smooth caressing touch elicits Jake's spider hairs to rise up. His dragon in pants almost rose up as well. He didn't know how much longer he could keep denying a woman as sexy and banging hot as Black Cat. Any mortal would give in to temptation. She was truly a goddess inside a mortal's body. Everything about her was perfect from head to toe. Her face was just too beautiful for mere words to describe. It was like seeing an angel. Jake once knew love before, but that time was over. Myra, his ex-girlfriend, was in the past and now this is in the future. In some way, Jake was a virgin in this new world, but soon that would change. Not anytime soon, even though Jake wanted to pin down Black Cat's busted lustful body against the walls of this brick building and fuck her pussy for all eternity. He wanted to ride her body until she broke. But Jake had to stop thinking about such lewd things. He had a mission to do. Evolution came first. I look like someone she knows? Is she talking about the Spider-Man in her world? Or Venom? Jake gritted his teeth. He didn't have time for this shit. So what do you plan to do? Are you going to fight those soldiers all alone? Black Cat starts gliding her fingers from Jake's buff chest and down to his six-pack abs. Soon she was approaching his lower region. She was inches away from his cock. Jake quickly grabs her hands. That's the plan. He swiftly does a backflip and shots one spider web at a nearby docking container. He swings away from Black Cat to fight the ice soldiers all alone. He lands on top one of the soldiers and slams his fist right on his face. What the fuck? The ice soldier's entire helmet exploded by the powerful force of Jake's punch. Blood splatters all over Jake's black masked-mouthed face. His eyes look demonic as he lifts up his bloody fist. The soldier's teeth were stuck in his knuckles and Jake smacks away the teeth and walks over the knocked-out soldier. Jake's power suit not only enhanced his speed, but it also boosted his strength. The suit itself was modified to weigh a whopping 3 tons. However, this was nothing to Jake. In fact, it made him only gain more endurance and strength. It was like he was cultivating 24/7 without lifting weights. Plus the 3 tons were evenly dispersed throughout the power suit. His symbiotes also added in extra support as it wrapped around his power suit for a double shield. Jake really was a tank of a Spider-Man. A larger carter of shattered cement the size of half a basketball court surrounded the knocked-out soldier. 25 to 30 feet. I kind of overdid it. Hope he's not dead, Jake silently said to himself as he shoots spider webs at the knocked-out Solider and hangs him up on a faraway lamppost so no one could see him. Jake was in stealth ninja/Navy SEAL mode. He wanted no one to know he was here. Jake slowly walked over to the other ice soldiers as they loaded in more Sub-Zero bombs onto the huge cargo ship floating in the Gotham Ocean. There were 3 people who looked like the leaders of this operation. One of them was a middle-aged bald man wearing a more modified and advanced ice power suit with an astronaut clear visor helmet. He was wearing bright orange goggles over his eyes. On one of his hands, he carried some kind of ray gun. This man used ice powers through the inventions he created. He looked to be a brilliant cryogenicist who knew everything about sub-zero temperatures. Next, to this man with a slender voluptuous woman with shoulder-length snowy aqua hair and bright aqua eyes. She was wearing a one-piece blue dress that looked like the Baywatch bathing suit but in a dark blue color instead. On the side of her arms was Arctic wolf fur cuffs. She had a pale complexion throughout her busty body, kind of like a ghost. Her pale face looked very pissed off and on the edge. The last person was a young boy the same age as Jake, and he didn't really look like a villain. In fact, he looked like he was part of the X-Men. He had spiky hair made of ice and he was wearing a brown coat jacket that had a fur collar on the sides. He seemed to be like any normal teenager. What was this kid doing around here with a bunch of soldiers and 2 other villains from the D.C world? Jake started to notice that the villains were now joining forces more than ever. Marvel crossing over with D.C had turned this world into a bloody jungle. Jake marked down the names of his next 3 victims in his mind. Mr. Freeze, Killer Frost, and the last one was an unknown for him, but he knew this kid must have been associated with the X-Men since he saw the famous X logo on the shoulder side of his jacket. Jake uses his spider senses to hear what the 3 were talking about. Unknown teenager with ice hair. I say we test out these cryo bombs already. Mr. Freeze, how about on that yacht over there? Those rich bastards deserve it. Killer Frost, TCH. How about we just freeze this whole damn city? She lifts up her palms and shoots out a blizzard of icy mist into the midnight skies. The icy mist slowly freezes in place in midair. It looked like a tidal wave of ice had been shot into the skies. She did this to demonstrate her superpowers. Mr. Freeze, you do have a point. But the one in charge has given us specific instructions to ship him these cryo bombs. He has been in quite an angered state since a certain bat and dark spider has foiled his plans. So it's best if we test out our merchandise real quick on smaller targets. He nastily clicks his fingers together with an ugly sinister toothy smile. Unknown Iceboy, you mean that kid who killed some mafia members, Scarecrow, and the lizard? Who cares about those weak freaks? I am only here for the money. He greedily rubs his hands together. Jake heard enough of these insects' words. He wasn't going to stop them before anyone gets killed. He was going to show them real Apex powers. Chapter 30, Justice PT3. A/N. Jake is currently wearing the Power Spider suit in the cover art and a black balaclava mask. Remember, he can also change his eye color and form a mask, thanks to those tricky symbiote powers. Also, no one knows how Jake looks like but Batman. Black Cat is right behind Jake. You gotta stop running from me. All I want to do is team up with you. Even though I work alone like you, I think we will make a good team. Your powers impress me, she softly says. This time she has a little sincerity in her voice. I know the only reason you sent those pictures and are following me around is to get your top secret USB drive back. I already have it hidden somewhere where you will never find it. Void Realm. Anyways, how do you always find me? It's kind of pissing me off, Jake said while charging up his superpowers and attacks. He wanted to see how powerful his Void Eye powers were. He also wanted to master his new Dragon Evolution fused with his Spider-Man powers. Oh, and he wanted to test out his new improved strength and speed. Well, I can smell your amazing scent a mile away. I am a cat after all. Meow. Black Cat silently giggles near Jake's ears. Her cool breathes tickle his ears. Her buxom jiggly breasts were grinding up Jake's muscular back. You are too much of a fucking tease, Jake tried to hold it together. So let's go kick some butt already. I bet these weirdos have a bunch of neat gadgets and money for us to steal. Black Cat greedily rubs her cute little hands together with a wide bright smile. Jake was once again gone and ditched Black Cat with his quick reflexes and speedy martial art movements. Hey! Black Cat shouts out as she tries to chase after Jake. Her shouts were quickly blocked off and muted as black spider webs were shot over mouth to silence her. MMMMMMPH. She mumbles out as she kicks her legs up in the air and tries to claw away the symbiotes with her razor steel nails on her combat gloves. But it was useless. The more she clawed at Jake's symbiotes, the more regenerated over her mouth. Stay put like a good kitty. Jake bolts forward to attack Mr. Freeze and his ice soldiers. Jake had already taken out the tracking beacon that Batman had implanted inside his power suit. He had a feeling that Batman was up to something. Things weren't making sense and he planned to get to the bottom of it. But right now all that mattered was taking these villains' powers and well saving the people in the yacht. Mr. Freeze activates one cryo bomb. It was a cylinder-shaped bomb that looked like a scientific thermos, except there was a drill spiral on top. This was most likely used to latch on its targets. The mechanical spiral on top starts spinning around like a torpedo propeller. The cryo bomb hovered up into the air and was actually being controlled by a drone. There is actually a drone inside the bomb itself? That is very advanced technology for even someone like Mr. Freeze. Who is giving them this much money to fund such a destructive weapon? Jake said to himself as he spiderweb slings closer to his enemies. Suddenly the cryo bomb blasted ahead to the nearby yacht that was filled with about 50 humans. Zoom, the cryo bomb rocketed directly at the giant yacht. Bahaha, soon we will see that ship freeze completely in a matter of seconds. Imagine millions of these cryo bombs falling down the skies of Gotham. Freeze them all to death. Mr. Freeze manically laughs with both his hands raised up in the air. Out of nowhere a symbiote, spiderweb slings past Mr. Freeze's face and catches the cryo bomb before it could reach its target. Everyone in the yacht starts frantically screaming as they see the cryo bomb almost colliding with the ship. It was inches away. A girl with ginger hair and emerald eyes is shocked and falls off her dinner chair. You could see the fear on her pale freckled face. What is going on, Mary Jane? Are you all right? Harry Osborn runs over to her side and then sees Jake holding back the cryo bomb with his symbiote spider webs. Is that the Dark Spider? Shouts Harry Osborn with disbelief in his eyes as he sees Jake standing on top of ship container in the distance. Mary Jane also had the same facial expression. She was just about to die until Jake saved her life and everyone in the yacht from freezing to death. She grabbed her chest and breathed heavily. Take your half-assed bomb back. With one hand Jake slings the cryo bomb backward and towards Mr. Freeze. What? How is that possible? Who dares you interfere with my plans? Mr. Freeze shoots his freeze ray at Jake, who was behind him. But it was already too late. The cryo bomb had collided on the docking bay and everyone was frozen solid. But Jake wasn't frozen. He had perfectly planned out where to land the cryo bomb so he wouldn't get hit by the sub-zero freeze radius. His spider sight and spider senses were used to accomplish this insane feat. Jake is standing on top one of the docking ship containers. His body was in a combat military and kung fu stance. He waited to see if the three villains were alive. You insolent brat. Mr. Freeze appeared out of the mist of compressed nitrogen. Killer Frost and the unknown X-Men teenager, Iceman/IC teen, came out of the frosty mist unscathed as well. They all had power resistance against ice elements, so the cryo bomb wouldn't harm them, but Jake did this to actually save the people on the yacht. As much as he thought saving people was a waste of time when it came to becoming powerful, he knew that the news would paint him as some mass killer/slayer, which he wasn't. Well, he kind of was after devouring some villains. But they were alive inside his symbiote void realm. Maybe? What are you waiting for? Kill him. Mr. Freeze points his finger at Jake and commands his ice soldiers to attack Jake. The ice soldiers' power suits had protected them from the sub-zero temperatures. Their suits had actually absorbed the ice particles scattered around the air. There were 10 ice soldiers in total. All of them rushed towards Jake and fired their assault ice ray guns. Jake just had a dark grin on his face. The shadows around him and his black mouth mask blocked his face, but his piercing demonic red glowing eyes were seen in the darkness. He had activated his void eye powers. As the beams of ice zoomed towards him, a sparking dark red and black tornado vortex made up of symbiotes sucked in all of the ice beams in a flash. Jake had absorbed all the sub-zero temperature ice beams inside his eyes. This was way more powerful than the Sherry-Non itself. The ice elements were quickly absorbed inside Jake's bloodstream. He only had a minor brain freeze, but other than that he was better than ever. What the fuck power is that? Killer Frost's aqua eyes widened as her interest was piqued when she saw Jake's insanely powerful powers. Jake's eyes started to charge up a sparking reddish and black beam that was fused with his symbiotes and the ice beams he had absorbed. He quickly shoots out a symbiote ice laser beam from his eyes. All 10 of the ice soldiers were devoured by the symbiote ice beam. Get it off. All of their bodies were being devoured by the icy symbiotes. Soon all of them disintegrated and froze at the same time. Jake used his void eye powers to absorb all of the ice soldiers' particles into his eyes and did a full counter on them. His symbiote beam was powerful enough to disintegrate the ice soldiers' bodies by reforming their tissues and then absorbing the reformed tissues. It was like being injected with venom that could literally eat you alive. Mr. Freeze's and Killer Frost's jaws drop as they saw their ice soldiers devoured in mere seconds. A stream of black blood leaked down Jake's eyes. His void eye powers were taking its toll on him. You really are one pesky bug? Get him. Mr. Freeze summons 5 ice soldiers to attack Jake. This time around they were literal ice soldiers. They were humans who transformed into sentient bio-ice crystals. Their whole bodies were covered in ice crystals. They were not human anymore. Mr. Freeze had mutated them into mindless ice zombies. These dumbass villains really don't give a damn about human lives. Jake stops dead on his track and sees the mindless ice zombies running towards his direction. Jake was still standing on a large 10-meter cargo ship container to keep his high ground. He thought about if he should kill these ice zombies. There was no use in saving them. They had lost their minds and souls. Even if there was an anti-serum, it would take about a day for Jake to create. He didn't have the time to waste on such things, as cruel as it seemed. He knew what he must do. I'm not a hero. Fuck that self-righteous bullshit. Jake jumps down the cargo ship container and constructs a katana sword made up entirely of symbiotes and his own radioactive spider blood DNA. Thousands of symbiote tendrils and spider webs swirled and spun around his right palm like a spider's thread. Soon the shape of a razor-sharp katana was made. The color of the katana was a glowing red and black color. He had formed a necro-katana, the predecessor of the all-powerful god-slayer weapon Necro's word either know as All Black the Anhila blade, the slicer of worlds, the sword of infinite darkness. In the distance, Black Cat watches the carnage that was about to unfold. She already admired Jake's power as actually she was smitten by him. She loved powerful men and before her eyes was someone of great power. Jake was an evolution of Spider-Man that Peter Parker could never match. Jake was unmatchable. Garrrrrg! Roared all of the giant ice zombies as all of them shoot out powerful sub-zero ice beams from their mouth. Jake easily slices through the ice beams with his necro-katana and slashes off one of the ice zombies' arms clean off. Errrrg! The ice zombie screams to the top of its lungs, as its ice arms shattered. Jake quickly does a side slash on the ice zombie's neck and ends its misery by slicing its head off. Its whole ice crystal body exploded on how powerful of an impact strike was of Jake's necro-katana. The other 4 ice zombies angrily roared as they saw their own comrade die before their eyes. All of them rushed Jake, who was already web-slinging on top of ship containers to dodge their ice beams. In a flash, Jake slashes all 4 ice zombies with one slash motion. His necro-katana could duplicate sword strikes at a fast rate by creating void portals. So in this very moment, Jake had actually slashed the ice zombies thousands of times just with one sword strike, all from different dimensions. In about 1 second, the 4 ice zombies shattered into nothingness. Jake had ended their lives swiftly. He vowed never to kill unless he had to, but in this case, he wanted to end these soldiers' suffering. Even though rage was boiling deep inside his blood and veins to kill Mr. Freeze and the other 2 ice elemental superpower users. Stand back everyone. This punk is mine. Killer Frost takes off her fur coat and looks directly at Jake with a death glare in her menacing aqua eyes. Her pale skin started to transform. An ice sheen, ice layer, forms across her entire body that grants her increased durability, cause intense blizzards that can instantly freeze any target and generate objects composed completely of ice. She was a blizzard of a woman. Some call her the Ice Demon. One kiss from her and your heart would be frozen solid and shatter. Guess that's why she is single. Mary Jane and Harry Osborn both hold each other for their dear lives as they see the dark spider in action from the distance in the yacht, which was filled with rich successful businessmen and women, including Harry's father, Norman Osborn. You ready, punk? Killer Frost lifts up both of her hands and forms an ice glacier that rises her lustful icy body into the air. The moon shines over her ice-crystallized busted body. I am just getting started. Jake spins around his necro-katana in a skillful way and then points the blade at her. Chapter 31, Justice Finale. You are gonna end right now. Blasted out the rowdy ice demoness as she shoots out a tidal wave of giant ice shards from her palms at Jake, who web-slings over the assault of ice shards and does a roundhouse kick right on Killer Frost's pale ice-skinned face. Gaia? You fucking bastard. She growls as her slender body flew past several docking lampposts and slams against a steel cargo ship container. Jake slides back his legs in a perfect flawless kung fu and ninjutsu stance. He had learned every mixed material arts and ninjutsu that Bruce Wayne knew. He knew every move that Kirigi, Bruce's sensei, had formed. Close combat for Jake was a breeze. Put simply a one-on-one fist fight with him and you would surely lose without even having a chance. That's it. You are dead meat. Now freeze. Killer Frost gritted her teeth and forms a wave of ice waves to surf on, and then she tackles Jake onto the ground. Her private region and thick muscular legs were spread right on top of Jake's crotch. Someone's a bit feisty, don't you think this is too soon? Jake said while glaring at Killer Frost with his glowing dark red eyes. Shut up. Killer Frost aqua eyes started glowing and she shoots out her most powerful blizzard attack ever. A gust of sub-zero wind and mists entraps Jake and he is frozen solid? Heh. Not so tough after all. All talk and no bite. Killer Frost punches the frozen Jake. His body explodes into shards of ice. Suddenly two symbiote clone Jakes punched Killer Frost in the face at the same time. Wait, how? A clone? What kind of powers are those? Her body spins around the air like a rag doll. Jake was so fast that he was able to create 3 symbiote clones in a matter of seconds. He had trained how to create more symbiote clones. All he needed to do was absorb more superpowers to boost up his symbiote regen and cloning abilities. With his hive mind, he could summon millions of clones of himself if he wanted to, but that would require Jake to devour a large number of superpowers. Even to Jake, his symbiote bloodline powers were still unknown to him. Mr. Freeze and Iceman were about to help out Killer Frost. Stand back. This is my fight. She hisses with a toothy growl like a vicious snow leopard. Just die already. Killer Frost screams. Her veins were popping out of her neck and face. She was furious beyond the point of no return as she shoots out another fatal blizzard storm blast from both of her palms this time. All her life was spent suffering in the Arctic region, undergoing scientific testing on herself to subdue her ice powers. She couldn't control her ice powers, which killed the people close to her. Even her loved ones were not spared by her ravenous ice powers, which froze them to death. And yet here was this dark spider masked crusader, who stood tall and so gallantly unaffected by her ice powers. Killer Frost's blizzard blast swooshed and zoomed towards Jake, freezing everything in its path. The ocean water behind Jake instantly froze. A 5-mile radius of frozen ice was seen across the ocean. The yacht in which MJ and Harry were in slid across the frozen sea water. Oh God! Someone! Please help us! Cries out a rich snob businessman. MJ and Harry see the dark spider absorb the blizzard storm with his void eye powers. What in the world are those powers? Harry's jaws drop as his body trembles. He had never seen such powers. Harry's father watches the dark spider with a wide grin. Jake's superpowers interest him. Shit, this is too much ice to absorb in my void eye. Jake grips his frozen eyeballs as the dimensional symbiote portal of his void powers disappear. What the hell are you? Are you even human? If I can't freeze you, then maybe I can freeze them instead. Killer Frost holds up her hands at the sliding yacht and fires out a colossal iceberg towards the yacht that made the Titanic iceberg look like an ice cube in comparison. It's time I heat things up. Jake slowly lifts up his arms and injects the serum he stole from the lizard directly inside his cubital fossa to hit a main blood vessel vein, like a blood test injection. This serum boosted up Jake's Eastern Dragon evolution and his other evolutions, Symbiote and Funnel Spider. Erg. Jake gritted his teeth and clenched his fist as his veins were pumping with the serum's DNA boosting powers, known simply as lizard serum, or in this case the modified version Jake made was called Evo Serum, Evo equals Evoltion for short. A blazing fire was literally burning deep inside Jake's lungs as he blasted out black flames made up of fire and symbiotes. The two fiery dark elements fused together and melted the iceberg Killer Frost had shot out in seconds. Somehow Jake was able to bypass the one weakness of a symbiote life form, fire itself. For the god of all symbiotes had forged his dark alien creations with the head of a celestial as its melting furnace. This was a breakthrough like no other. Jake's symbiote bloodline was the rarest and most powerful of them all. Both his Spider-Man and symbiote powers were unstoppable. Venom and the original Spider-Man were literal insects compared to Jake, who was a spider god of darkness. MJ's and Harry watched the powerful dark spider save their lives and everyone's lives at the yacht once more. Gwen was also inside the boat as well. She had a stunned look on her face. She so badly wanted to talk to the dark spider alone and give him back the ring he had dropped at her apartment the day he saved her from the kidnappers. Jake quickly shots out 2 thick symbiote spider webs from his wrists and holds the 50-ton mega yacht in place. The massive ship continued to glide against the ice until it was stopped by Jake's powerful spider webs, which didn't even snap or tear on the impact of the 50-ton ship colliding against it. It was like the strong spiderweb fibers had acted as a giant funnel spiderweb net. Jake's legs and body slides back and his muscles popped out of his carbon fiber power suit as he holds back the force of the mega yacht. His mouth mask almost ripped out from how much he was gritting his teeth. Ting. The yacht finally brakes and lands on top of nearby cargo ship dock that was not in Jake's direction. He did it? He saved us? The Dark Spider saved us. Chance a bunch of people on the mega yacht. No, that can't be. Killer Frost Aqua eyes widen as she frantically tosses giant ice spears at Jake as a last resort attack and stumps on the ground to form ice pillars under Jake's feet. She knew she didn't stand a chance against Jake and was attacking him in a wild manner. Get inside the void. Jake does a ninja backflip over the ice pillars formed under his feet and slashes through Killer Frost's ice spear attacks and then slashes her right on the chest without any mercy. Gah. She cries out in pain as her blood splatters onto Jake's black and crimson Spider-Man power suit. He then sucks her whole body inside his void eye in a tornado motion. Whoosh, and just like that, she was gone. Millions of symbiote tendrils and tentacles wrapped around her tiny mouth and face as they dragged away her busted body inside of Jake's eyeballs. It was like Jake was eating her with his eyes. You bastard, you are going to pay for that? Release her at once. Mr. Freeze shots an ice ray laser beam at Jake. Get that weak shit out of here. Jake shots out a symbiote beam out of his eyes and easily devours the ice beam. Mr. Freeze angrily runs towards Jake and goes to suicide bomb himself with a cryo bomb. I will just take you to hell with me. He roars out. Mr. Freeze had nothing to lose. He had already lost his wife to cancer and his mom and dad died by the hands of superheroes. Who said all heroes were good? That was just a lie. A cover-up from the truth. All heroes are flawed by nature. No one is perfect. Not even the gods themselves. Die? I will kill everyone in this damn forsaken city. Mr. Frost activates the cryo bomb with one hand and is inches away from Jake. In a flash, Jake slices off Mr. Freeze's arm with his pulsating sentient symbiote necrokatana. He bellows out as he falls to his knees and blood spluttered everywhere onto Jake's face. Jake swiftly used his web slinger and it latches onto the cryo bomb. He then slings it high up into the midnight skies. The cryo bomb traveled so fast in an upwards motion that it almost reached space. Suddenly the ice bomb exploded and a firework of ice crystal falls over Gotham. A snowy night in Gotham just got even snowier. Wow, he is amazing. Gwen's eyes widen as she took in the spectacle of epicness. MJ has the same expression as Gwen as they are somewhat kind of friends. Barbara Gordon was also in the yacht with Gwen. Bruce Wayne is on the highest platform of the mega yacht, the King's area, and he sees all of Jake's carnage. He was, in fact, the proud owner of the yacht and by odd chance, he was holding a charity event for the richest of the richest. Someone with sharp fancy sunglasses was sitting right next to Bruce Wayne. Who is that new superhero? I have never seen him before. That's kind of a nice looking power suit. Not as good as mine. Tony smiled as he tipped down his expensive sunglasses. Yeah, you go Dark Spidey. He's our hero. Chants a bunch of rich people in the mega yacht. Even Gwen and Barbara chant. Some people were hesitant to cheer for the Dark Spider as they saw him as some kind of bloodthirsty monster. For God's sakes, he had just cut off someone's arm and ate people with his eyeballs and mouth. Jake easily subdues Mr. Freeze by wrapping him up in a symbiote funnel spider web and Iceman just gave up with hands up in the air. Jake didn't want to absorb Mr. Freeze into his void eye because he was just a waste of space and provided no superpowers. To him, absorbing humans was a useless cause. He only did it before to the ice soldiers to test out his powers. He needed guinea pigs. That's all people were to him. Nothing but test subjects. Ice-Teen is basically Iceman from X-Men, but a younger Varison. Okay, I give up. Please don't kill me. Ice-Teen hopelessly falls to the floor and begs for mercy. Jake steps on top of Ice-Teen head with his feet to exert his dominance of being an alpha superhero. Tell me who gave you Damas those cryo bombs. Jake presses his boots harder on Ice-Teen's skull, almost crushing his head like it was a feeble peanut. I don't know. I only came here for the money. I needed to buy medicine for my mother. She is going to die if I don't do anything. Ice-Teen almost pisses his pants. His eyes looked deceiving, as a trickster. Not my problem. I will only say this once. Who gave you those cryo bombs? Jake said with a cold and dark thunderous voice. He wasn't fucking around. Ice-Teen starts to smile. Haha. You have no idea who you are up against. You are so fucking dead. He forms an ice dagger and goes to stab Jake in the neck. The ice dagger shatters immediately as hardened dragon scales and symbiote tendrils shielded his neck. Wrong answer. Jake punched Ice-Teen on the face and his teeth cracked on impact. His blood splattered onto the cement floor of the docking marine area. Ice-Teen was quickly K.O. Jake walks over to the cryo bombs and absorbs all of them inside his void eye powers to use them later. Jake holds up his hands and then fires out icy spider webs from his wrists and freezes Mr. Freeze and Ice-Teen so they won't escape. So I get an ice spiderweb evolution. Not bad at all. Damn, my superpowers are up as fuck. Jake swings away into the night and disappears. He had once again saved the lives of many human beings who were about to be frozen to death. The lives of MJ, Harry, and Gwen were all about taken on this day if it weren't for Jake saving them. Say what you want, but Jake did his job as a protector fast without any morals getting in the way of his mission. Also, he had a huge hunch on who was behind all of these random terrorist attacks on Gotham. He could read Killer Frost's memories since she was absorbed in his void eye. Inside the void of Jake's symbiote body and mindscape, he could read her mind through telepathy. By reading her mind he saw someone powerful who was wearing a red cape and red helmet which only covered the top his head, but his face could be seen in the shadows of Killer Frost's mind. As Jake swings around Gotham City, he is stopped by a red-cloaked figure that bent a giant billboard street sign all around Jake's body, with some kind of electromagnetic powers? What the fuck? Jake easily breaks through the New York-style 15-ton steel billboard by ripping it apart with his bare hands. Suddenly more 15-ton steel billboards wrap around his body. Who the fuck is doing this? Wait a sec, I know who it is. This is the powerful power signature that the sonar radar and my spider sense spotted. Jake gritted his teeth and clenched his fist as he is slowly being trapped inside a steel prison. His spider senses were at an all-time high, so I finally find the dark spider. Do not be alarmed. I am not here to kill you, says a calm and collective voice that sounded almost magnetic and static, like a wise man full of endless wisdom and knowledge. Jake angrily punches through the 70-ton steel and metal prison composed of various steel and metal objects, and looks around for the person who had slightly trapped him. Jake could now lift up 80 tons, since his symbiote bloodline and advanced Spider-Man DNA had now fully synced after fighting/absorbing villains with both of these powers and integrating them with his system. I have seen your powers. They are being wasted on mere cannon fodder. Your mentor Batman won't help you grow stronger, but with my extensive knowledge, I can make you become more powerful than you can ever imagine. Why fight for justice when you can fight for power? Says a voice inside Jake's brain. Who are you? Jake asked as his glowing red eyes scanned around the area. He was on top of an apartment complex building located in the slums of Gotham. You will soon find out. The voice echoes away. Jake grabs his skull in pain. A massive headache attacked his brain. A surge of past memories flows inside his mind. He sees the shadow of his father and mother inside a laboratory working on some kind of experiment. Next to them was Batman and by his side was a floating overly muscular figure that wore a red cape and blue bodysuit that had a certain godly symbol on the middle of his chest. What are you doing here? Stand back. Batman thunders out as he points an advanced laser gun at the floating figure. Suddenly a dimensional portal tears open behind Batman and Jake's parents. What is that? Jake's parents scream for their lives as someone or something appears out of the dimensional portal. His flashback quickly fades away. Ugh, what was that about? Fuck, I really need to rest, Jake said aloud to himself as he web-slings across Gotham and heads back to his hideout/room. Neither did he know that this was just the beginning of his new life. A/N, what a fucking chapter. Let me know if you are confused so I can fix this chapter. I am going to revisit and edit past chapters on Friday and add some stuff. The spider shop in the system will now be added. The op power I was talking about won't be used just yet. As if Jake wasn't up already. This is only the beginning and I plan to fix everything. To answer your harem questions. Things will happen naturally. It won't happen in a flash. 2,820 words fucking crazy. Yes, there will be some plot holes with the power scale. I need time to look over that. Also, I will be giving more depth to the other characters. I will make things better. Things will now go at a smooth pace once the school arc comes up, which is after the next chapter. Guess the new characters in this chapter. Mostly male superheroes. And don't worry, Black Cat and Killer Frost are alive. Chapter 32, Dark Spider. Jake arrives back at his spider hideout all bruised and battered, but not defeated. Ever since he first reborn in this Marvel X D.C fusion world, he had methodically planned out each fight and mission without fail. Even though he had to improvise here and there, but overall he had successfully taken down many villains all by himself. Batman only helped him out once. That was when he ran over the Mafia men with his Batmobile tank and tackled another Mafia man to the floor and headbutted him. Jake was beyond tired, his minor wounds quickly regenerated. He was more tired than beaten up. Actually, Jake didn't mind get punched and frozen a few times by Killer Frost. That really got his blood pumping. But now he had enough hero time. His moment to shine was already done. He could sense the presence of Gwen, Barbara, and some others on the mega yacht. No matter how many ways you put, Jake had saved more than 50 lives on that mega yacht at the expense of absorbing Killer Frost and taking down Mr. Freeze along with his ice zombie soldiers. Had Jake really done the right thing? Surely he did, as there is always two sides of a coin. Without good, there would be no evil. Without evil, there would be no good. It was balance that separated these two ideals. Villains and superheroes were just titles to Jake. What really mattered to him was becoming the most powerful Spider-Man in existence, and today he had proven that. Though he was not on the level of the High Gods and the Mad Titan just yet, Jake was in some way immortal due to the high regeneration powers of his symbiote bloodline and his radioactive spider DNA. Speaking of which, Jake had still wondered when he would get his Brazilian wandering spider and Black Widow radioactive spider bite. Jake takes off his black mouth mask and snaps his fingers to take off his power suit, which was part symbiote and carbon fiber. I kind of needed my power suit to hold back that 50-ton yacht without damaging my arms, but I could have beaten those villains without my power suit. Maybe I need to upgrade this thing even more, make it lightweight. For now, I am passing the fuck out. A sudden rage of burning hatred overtakes Jake as he starts to remember what happened to his parents. Get out of my fucking head. He screams aloud. He punches a Carter into the cement wall of his room, almost exploded his whole room into smithereens. Asterisk, yes, let out your anger and hate. Let it drive you to unlimited power and destruction. Asterisk a dark demonic voice echoes inside of Jake's mind as he bit down on his tongue to suppress the wrathing hellish tentacle symbiotes on his spine which started to grow out at a rapid rate. Shit, all the power I absorbed from Killer Frost is escaping, I have to hold it back. Jake roars out as clenches his muscles around his body to absorb the escaping symbiotes back inside his body. Asterisk it looked like his symbiote bloodline had finally awakened. But the demonic voices in his head had slowly disappeared. Jake was confused about who or what was talking him. First was when an old man was talking about joining forces with him to help him become powerful, and now this demonic voice. What the fuck is going? I just need to rest. Jake jumps on his bed and calls it a night. He had been through way too much today for a 16-year-old. He knew that tomorrow was going to be one hell of a day. He had a feeling that things were about to change. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Jake wakes up and goes upstairs to the kitchen with his cell phone, which was a new iPhone since Black Cat knew his past cell phone number. All he did was transfer all of his information into the new iPhone, which was heavily fortified. No one could hack it. It was an unhackable and untraceable cell phone, like a ghost phone. Jake accomplished this in many ways, but I rather not bore you with the details. Just know that Jake was super smart when it comes to getting things done. In about 3 minutes Jake cooks a perfect breakfast of scrambled eggs, crispy bacon, and toast which was slightly burnt. TCH fucking useless toaster. Jake throws away the slightly burnt bread and now modifies the toaster, which only took about 1 minute, which a few screws here and there. He also builds a robot that could pass the butter in less than 2 minutes. Now Jake had made a perfect toaster which could perfectly toast anyone's bread. And just like magic, when Jake toasted his first honey oat bread, it came out look liking the gods of all bread, or god bread, since it looked amazing and sparkling. Butter my toast, he commanded his newly built butter spreader robot. Okay master, replies the butter spreader robot with a monotone robotic voice as it spreads butter on Jake's perfect toast. A/N, I hope you get the reference / Easter egg. Now that's what I call a fucking good breakfast. Jake eats away and turns on the news with bread hanging on his mouth. Channel 69 Wolf News. Blonde sexy female announcer with huge melon tits, Dark Spider saves the day again. And this time he is fighting crime solo without Batman? He looks like he is doing a better job, as he saved about 50 of the wealthiest men and women in Gotham, including the likes of Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark. Even Norman Osborn was on board. Bruce Wayne walks up to the young blonde bombshell announcer and takes her news mic. I want to thank the Dark Spider for saving all of our lives. He truly is a hero, he said with a big bright smile. Jake could see right through Bruce Wayne's bullshit. Bruce was clearly pissed off and hiding his true colors of anger and spite. If only everyone knew what really happened last night. If only they knew what kind of monster Jake was. What kind of cold-blooded killer he was. And it was even more ironic that this powerful monster lived with Bruce Wayne as his stepson. The Dark Spider and the iconic Dark Knight were living at the same place together, two powerful vigilantes in one mansion. Jake spits out his coffee as he sees Tony Stark and a young Pepper Potts waving their hands at the press, which was snapping a shit ton of pictures. The news station was recording right outside of the Stark Industries tower. Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark were actually congratulating Jake at the same time. Tony Stark, we really need more heroes like Dark Spider. I would like to meet him personally to thank him for what he did. Maybe I can let him test out some of my amazing groundbreaking technology. He puffs up his fancy business suit collar and then walks off to a nearby gold and black Audio R8 with Pepper Potts. Now that's what I am talking about. Jake confidently grinned, and as he shoots a finger gun like a cowboy, he wanted to actually meet Tony Stark in person as well. He had so many questions and ideas for him on how to build the most powerful power suit in existence. You know, I got a lot of free time to get more powerful. Let's get to it. To the spider hideout. Suit up time. Jake rushes downstairs so fast that the brick walls near him almost crack and exploded. He was at the same speed of Flash. During this time, Jake would only grow stronger and gain a worldwide reputation for good and bad. He knew that every day counted. Deep in his mind, he knew that he was going to eventually fight that powerful magnetic force from last night. He was going to give that red-caped bastard hell and take his superpowers. Now a new hero rises. That hero was Jake Justice. And with this chapter, a quick training montage and beatdowns will end this arc. Let me know what I should fix or if anything confuses you. Also, I need to add more detail to Black Cat, like her infamous black catsuit and gadgets. You will be seeing her more than often with some other sly villainous girls. Chapter 33, Dark Spider PT2. Jake Justice? Sounds a bit heroic cliché, but it also sounds pretty cool at the same time. It's got a good ring to it. Besides, back at the military I couldn't even choose my name. Now I have the freedom to do whatever I want. Speaking of which, I am almost done sending all of my 500 million into my hidden bank account, but I think I have another idea with that money. Jake goes inside his room and pulls out his laptop. The shining sun gleamed around his room. It had been a long time since he had seen the light. Jake would always hunt at night and take others' superpowers, but today he was going to take a more different approach. Now that I think about, why the fuck am I still in the Batcave? I have gotten all the information and tools/gadgets I need to enhance my power suit and my body. Also, I have learned the truth about Batman, who is constructing a powerful superweapon for reasons unknown. If I stay here any longer, it will only stunt my growth. Even though, Jake looks over at his power suit, which was given to him by Batman. During the course of 5 days, Bruce Wayne had been one of Jake's best friends, well, the only friend. But Jake knew it was his time to leave. He eventually knew that he and Batman will cross paths. It was destiny. With all the money I have, I can easily buy a penthouse apartment complex near the higher class areas. But that would be a waste of money. The only reason why I am still at Bruce's mansion is to save up more money. Maybe I should go the cheaper route and buy an apartment that was kind of like Gwen's. Jake types at his computer and goes house shopping. A mind-blowing 10 minutes was wasted like for the right apartment. Who knew that looking for a damn place to live was so hard? Jake stretched and suddenly he hears a knocking sound nearby. Jake looks at the window of his room and sees about 4 drones slamming against his glass window. Asterisk package delivered? Package delivered? Package delivered? Package delivered, asterisk all robotically chimed the drones as they were slamming against Jake's room window. Alright, I get it. Jake opens the window and lets the drones come in. Each drone had an LF logo on it. Jake had indeed bought equipment and technology from Lucius Fox himself. He had found his contact number not so long ago while scanning through Batman's database. Jake puts down the packages and has an excited look on his face. It was like Christmas for him. Pull up Forge. Jake commands his system. Forge. Insert item, power suit prototype carbon fiber Nomex power suit symbiote hybrid. Let's see if this works. Jake spreads out his arms and a large blue holographic simulation screen appears in front of his face revealing all the spec of his power suit. Upgrade power suit, Jake said as he clicked on the simulated power suit. Forge. Metals/minerals, chose metals or minerals, choose 3. Specs, this refers to modifications such as nanobot technology. Choose 2. Weapons, describes itself, examples, missiles, laser cannons, repulsor beams, choose 3. Gadgets, examples, jetpack, web shooters, etc. choose 2. Fuel/energy source, example, arc reactor, Iron Man Mark III suit, choose 1. Well, this going to be fun. Jake cracked his knuckles and got to work. His power suit was going to be powerful and epic. Chapter 34, Dark Spider Finale. System, bring up the Iron Man Mark III blueprint and schematics. Jake clapped together his hands to compress all the simulated information into a small sphere in which he can see the whole forge diagram in a 360-degree angle, so up, down, left, right, and even behind at the same time. That's how useful the forge was in Jake's Spider-Man system. Jake typed around and searched for the exact types of minerals and metals he needed for lightweight and highly defensive armor. He used the reference of Marvel's and D.C's greatest metals/minerals. He quickly comes to a conclusion based on heavy study and deduction. His speed mind had absorbed just about every knowledge about the most powerful and highly defensive metal and minerals in this universe. Alright, Forge, show me what you got. Jake tossed up the simulation sphere up into the air and it floated in place and spun around like it had its own gravity. Jake then placed the mechanical parts he bought from Lucius Fox into the simulation sphere. He was going to be a god of creation. Metals/minerals, URU, Stormbreaker metal, demon armor, armor that can evolve, adamantium. Specs, symbiote nanobot, quantum drive. Weapons, dark repulsor beams, atom destroyer, nuke assault. Gadgets, thrusters, web cannon. Core, nova reactor. In a matter of seconds, the bluish floating sphere hologram started to form an outline of Jake's creation. The power suit was literally being formed right in front of his very eyes. All the super geniuses in the Marvel and D.C world would never come this close to this type of creation. Jake was a literal god at this very moment. A spider god. In a blink of an eye, the simulation blueprint was complete. Jake simply touched the simulation of his newly created power suit and pulled it out from the sphere hologram. Once he did this, the power suit actually materialized right before his very eyes. Holy fucking shit, this insane. Jake's eyes widened for the first time in a while. His mind was blown away. Well, he was also shocked when he first saw Batman, but this was different. He actually created a power suit with only his mind. A mist surrounded the epic power suit. Jake touched the fleshly forged metals which burned his fingers. He didn't feel any kind of pain with his symbiote powers, yet this type of heat almost made his fingers melt. He slightly gritted his teeth. The only true times Jake felt any kind of pain is when he gets massive headaches or when lifting objects higher than 80 tons. Creation completed. Name item dash. Damn it, I don't have any good names at the top of my head. I will just call it Destroyer X or Destructo, something like that. Jake wanted to test out his new godly power suit, but he didn't know how to put it on. Does this thing have an opening? Ha, no pun intended. Jake awkwardly thought to himself as he scanned for any kind of opening or hatch to open the epic power suit. Damn, this teenage mind is so cringe sometimes. Jake just slightly grinned. He was just living the life. Destroyer X, activate with your superpowers. Jake slapped his forehead, of course. He unleashes his symbiote powers and surely enough the power suit exploded into billions of blackish and red nanobots. These nanobots were attracted to Jake's symbiotes since they were actually created to be fused with his symbiotes. It would not work on other symbiote life forms. Only Jake's. However, the nanobots stopped moving and froze in time and space after sensing Jake's symbiotes. Something was wrong. His symbiotes were way too powerful and ravenous. They moved wildly out of his spine. It was like he had demonic spider legs growing out of his back. What is going on? I perfectly created the destroyer and now it isn't working. He said aloud to himself with a pissed off look on his face. He hated incomplete projects and hated not being right all the time. It seemed that the gods have a way to show mortals that they could never reach their apex state. Jake was persistent to fix this problem. He punched his knuckles together and got into research mode. He spent about 30 minutes to find ways to make his power suit work. If he could use this suit, then he could easily wipe the floor with Superman. He could stump him like he was Ant. Even Superman Prime wouldn't stand a chance. Yet here was the power suit the system created and he couldn't use it. It was aggravating Jake to his core seeing such unmatchable raw power so close to him and he can't even use it. Screw the gods. I will become a god myself. Jake types away at his system and comes up with impossible theories on how to get the suit working. Over an hour he had figured out on to use it. It was not going to be an easy task. The thing was that the Destroyer X was fully functional. All it needed was some extra parts. However, Jake figured out that he wasn't fully synced with his symbiote bloodline. In order to accomplish this feat, he needed to enlist the help of someone with great knowledge and powers. It wasn't Tony Stark or Franklin Richards. It was someone who knew powerful magic. For now Jake placed the Destroyer X suit in a cryopod. I will only use this thing against the most powerful opponents. It would be a waste against weak ones. For the time being I will just use my original Dark Spider power suit. Besides, if I use this thing right now then that would draw even more suspicion towards me. This power suit can level cities, mountains, and planets. Jake drinks some coffee and quickly types down a list of things he needed to do on his iPhone. He looks up at his hands which were full of blackish symbiote veins and his newly forged god power suit, TCH. This world is mine for the taking. Underscore 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 underscore. For over a week Jake had trained with Bruce Wayne in martial arts and other things like the business life, building gadgets, and street smarts. Sometimes he would go on missions with Batman, but he would always do things his way or just flat out go solo. Also during the course of a week, Jake took down many mafia gangs, drug dealers, black market traders, terrorists, low-tier villains, and just overall he was doing all the good in the world. He was making a name for himself. From a zero to a hero, but we all know Jake was doing this as a cover-up. It's Dark Spider, our hero. If he can't save us, no one can. Chance all the people he saved. It didn't matter the people Jake saved. From old greedy rich farts to children, he saved all kinds of lives. Jake would only fight crime during the night as the news stations couldn't get a good picture of his face. Not that it matters since he can shapeshift his eye color, heck even his own face, but he did this for extra stealth, and to keep a secret identity. Only Batman knew Jake was the Dark Spider. Jake had become the next Dark Knight of the city. Slowly by surely he was growing up in the ranks and every villain in Gotham started to hear about his name. The menacing name of Dark Spider spread all across the world. Soon people feared the Dark Spider more than Batman himself. Jake was the kind of hero everyone needed. But with a new hope comes darkness. Jake enters his room and takes off his mouth visor masks and takes a long breath. He looks at the mirror and sees that his eyes were bloodshot. The symbiotes were slowly taking over his body. With each new villain he absorbed into his void eye, the symbiote hive mind got stronger and stronger. His symbiotes feed of the superpowers of the villains inside the endless void of Jake's soul. His evolution was speeding up, but the rate was damaging his body. He needed to control his symbiotes. Jake looks tired as fuck as he looks at himself in the mirror. Every day he spent saving people's lives. He hated every second of it. But he had to build an image. An ego that would become unfillable and unbreakable. I want real power. I am done taking down weaklings. Jake punched the mirror and glass shards exploded all over his face. All of Jake's past life was spent trying to become more powerful so he could stand up those who stronger than him, to the ones who made his life a living hell. That's why he joined the Army and Navy SEALs, so he would gain discipline and strength to rise above. But still, after joining these two warrior establishments, he felt empty, like there was a void in his soul. He wasn't using his vast combat knowledge for anything in planet Earth. But in this world it was different. He could finally have the freedom to do whatever he wanted. His power was limitless. Batman kicks open Jake's door like a S.W.A.T officer and barges in the room with a gruff growl and huff. You know you can knock, Jake said as he already cleaned the broken glass and patched up the broken cement wall so Batman wouldn't see Jake's dark side. This is faster. Anyways, you have school tomorrow. I enlisted you in one of the most prestigious academies in Gotham City. It was pretty hard to get you in, so you better go. And remember, I told you to have one more week to get some money and find somewhere else to live. Your actions are only getting worse. I saw what happened at the docking marine. I saw you absorb villains inside of your body. I can't help you out anymore. You are on your own. Just hope we won't cross paths. Batman thunders out. He has been holding back in his anger as if lately, but he had also been drinking way more than usual. Batman was done with Jake's brutal side. He knew Jake was a monster who didn't care about anyone's life. TCH. In 1 week I will make a company bigger than yours. I will make more money than you. And most of all, I will become more powerful than you. Jake angrily pointed at Batman. I don't care what you do. You are not my son. Do whatever you want. The school I enrolled you in will probably change you and help you out, but I am not forcing you to go. Batman storms off without even looking back. He had a mission to take down the Joker. Whatever, I will go and graduate with the highest GPA without even trying, Jake said as he jumped on his bed and went to sleep. Jake needed a change of place. Living in the Batcave was pissing him off more than it should. Maybe going back to school would spark something inside of him. Who knew what possibilities lied ahead? A new future was about to begin. Maybe he would finally get the most powerful power. His destiny will soon arrive. Things I will fix, more descriptions, dialogue, and character-driven arcs. A/N, there is something I skipped over, but I don't want to bore you with details. I just wanted to get to the school arc as fast as possible. The next chapter will change POV to a certain important character like Batman and the mysterious figure Jake encountered after saving MJ. Yes, I know there are some plot holes, but there are so many characters in this world, so I have to speed things up. I am going to spend time on Friday to edit and fix some chapters up by adding in some important details. I forgot to show Jake using his dark ice against Killer Frost, and stuff like that will be added on. I will be posting a chapter called Correction to list all the corrections. Anyways, we finally get to see new girls tomorrow and a special someone. Here are some things to answer the Forge. Quantum drive means the MC can travel at the speed of light and more. Dimensional travel is possible. The Nova reactor is basically a core made up of a compressed supernova. The new suit is almost on the level of Cosmic Spider-Man. I forgot to add something, but it will be a spoiler so I won't. Lastly, the demon armor is something I made up and it was taken from Akame Kill, the weapon in Curgio. Quick note, the review's just dumber by the day. It's kind of annoying. Look, here is the thing with the harem element. Put bluntly, the MC won't think with his dick like every other harem protag ever known. Like I said, it will happen naturally. And trust me, when it does happen, the R18 content will be better than any R18 content in this site. It will be godly. Last thing to address, I will be posting a power scale tomorrow and everything in this story is based off the MCU, so yeah, I need to read some comics and rewatch some movies. Chapter 35, Premeditation. Batman's POV. When I saved that boy's life from the inescapable hell that was about to unfold, I knew he was destined to become someone of great power. Even at his young age, he still fought against the most powerful beings in existence. I will do whatever it takes to keep his legacy alive, for what is to come will destroy this very world as we know it. Batman stands on top of the Gotham Arkham Asylum building. It looked like a graveyard building surrounded by heavy mist and gray tombstones. This building is a criminal care institution for the mentally unstable in Gotham City's Arkham district. It kept the likes of many villains behind bars. However, this institution tried to help the villains. It tried to change their perspective and behavior. It tried to solve their mental problems. Arkham Asylum methods were rather crude, such as shock therapy and other unsavory ways to take out the evil from the villains of Gotham. But evil never fades. Just like darkness, Batman jumps down from the Arkham Asylum and fiercely kicks and punches aside guard soldiers at the main entrance. He swung his TNT-modified Batarang and it exploded through the metal doors, which locked out anyone from coming in. When the door exploded, Bane was seen right in front of Batman. He had helped a bunch of insane murderous criminals escape from the Arkham Asylum. Bane was using the criminals as pawns so he could escape Arkham himself. So it is the Bat. Where is your other friend, the Dark Spider? Has he left you like so many of your foolish sidekicks? Bane said in a hoarse, deep, ear-piercing voice as he raised up his both hands in the air in a tyrannical way. I don't need dead weight to bring me down. And you should be more worried about your situation. What will you accomplish letting out a bunch loose screws? Your tactics are getting easier to spot out. Batman presses a button on his utility belt. Suddenly a loud vibration of sound waves explodes out from his belt. All of the escaping criminals fell to their knees and gripped their ears in pain. Blood was actually leaking down from their ears. Gay-a-a-a-a. They all scream as veins popped out from their eyes. You and your tricks. But I have the one up on you this time. Bane clicks a detonator trigger and all the criminals actually exploded around Batman. What? Batman's body flew up into the air. He didn't expect Bane to use such a ruthless tactic. Half of his mask was ripped to shreds and his bat suit was cracked from how strong was the force of the explosion. Hasta la vista, old friend. Bane slowly walks away into the mist of the explosion and jumps on top of a nearby medical helicopter and punches off the pilot. Excuse me, I will be taking this. He turns on the engine and flew away into the night. Bane had actually escaped the Arkham Asylum with the help of a certain jokester. Batman gripped at his wounds and coughed out blood. He had been defeated. He let his emotions get in the way of his mission. When he saw the criminals explode to bloody meat chunks, his mind turned fuzzy and disorientated. He had flashbacks of what happened when he tried to save Jake on that fateful day. Batman angrily goes back inside the Batcave. He was done caring about others' lives. He was going to take a new approach. He turned on his supercomputer and brought up the file Nick Fury had given him. This was a new world. Things have changed. And so will the Dark Knight. The blueprints of a superweapon were seen and it was powered by a certain rare stone. One that was a blackish and blue color, a stone that brings balance to the universe. Batman's eyes glared at the superweapon and then took out a serum that was inside a syringe. He clenched it. This serum was something he didn't want to use, but if he wanted to be in top shape and fight the evil that roamed about in New Gotham, he had to take a risk. Things really have changed. Is the path I really want to go? I must do it. Forgive me, Father, for what I am about to do. Batman lifts up the serum and injects into his bloodstream. It was once said to fight evil you must become evil yourself. First person POV. I have been training with Jake for a while now. This kid always surprises me. Even though he acts like a little shit. He always thinks he is smarter and better than me. Heh, I will show that brat what a real guardian looks like. He could never match the things I've done to rid this city of corruption. No, to rid this world of corruption. From now on, I will show no mercy to anyone. I will do what's best for this world. POV change, Jake. God, where do I begin? When I first got my Spider-Man powers, I felt invincible, almost like a god. I felt like I could do anything. For a good week, I trained with Bruce Wayne aka the Dark Knight, Batman, the Cape Crusader, and so many other iconic names. But somehow I feel like this Batman is kind of a jerk, but whatever. I guess you can say I get along with Bruce more than I do with Batman. Bruce was kind of like a brother to me. I wouldn't say father cause that's just weird. But we got along. We went to occasional strip clubs and I even got to see underbelly of this new world, or in this case New Gotham, which was a hybrid of the Marvel and D.C world. It was like both worlds merged and kept every aspect of itself. The city itself was just like in the superhero movies, like a fusion between the Dark Knight trilogy and the Avengers. The year was 2020, but many things looked identical back in my world of planet Earth. The only difference was that this new world I was reborn in had way more advanced technology, like top-grade stuff. You can fly around in power suits. The bullet trains actually floated in the air and were powered by some gravity technology that Tony Stark invented. It was a dog-eat-dog world here. During my week in the Batcave, I went on solo missions to hunt down villains and steal their powers with my symbiote powers. I usually hunted down mid-tier villains. Eventually, I will also take the powers of superheroes. I absorbed the Lizard, Killer Frost, Amazo, mid-tier Android Verison, to speed up absorption/copy skills, other living beings' superpowers, pre-installed powers, half of the Justice League powers, Heatwave, and I almost absorbed Poison Ivy's powers, but she got away. She looked super hot in person, even better than in the movies or comics. Words can't describe her beauty. Getting off track here. Anyways, after that, I meet one of my biggest threat, someone who could easily bend any kind of metal. Without a doubt it was Magneto. Kind of wish I saw him in person so I could take his powers, which manipulates magnetic fields to achieve a wide range of effects. But I have a feeling we will meet again. He did say something about joining forces, but I don't trust anyone. Well, besides all the crime fighting and keeping this new world safe and all, I have this sexy platinum blonde vixen named Black Cat following me around, and I have swooned the hearts of all the girls I saved. Just a normal day for your friendly neighborhood slayer. Well, I got to get going. My first day of school starts tomorrow. See you guys later. POV change. Somewhere in the underbelly/black market of New Gotham. That damn dark spider is ruining our plans. We have lost so much freaking money because of that bastard. A huge towering bald man wearing an expensive white business suit slams both of his chubby fists onto a metal table. This whale of a man was easily 6.7 feet and he weighed a good 450 pounds. He was the king of all mafias. He was the godfather, the ruler of the underbelly of New Gotham, the Kingpin. He has not only taken my money, but he has killed some of my guys. Kingpin angrily kicks away the metal table he punched. Asterisk slam. Thud, asterisk, the table actually bends in half and slams against a mound of dishes filled with fancy food. Kingpin was in the back of his own secret base restaurant with all his gang members. Ahahaha. Hysterically laughs someone in the background of the restaurant's kitchen area. Who the hell invite the fucking clown? Angrily says one dark-skinned mafia man as he cracked his knuckles and gritted his teeth with burning rage. He hated the freak that was in front of him. Yeah, get the freak out of here. Shouts another Latino mafia man and some other mafia men as they all stood up and point their guns at the creepy person walking out of the shadows of the kitchen. It seems a certain dark spider has ruined your plans and pathetic excuses for evil schemes. It must be a gift from the above to now have two nemesis. The bat and the spider. What a dream come true. Ha 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 ha. The Joker couldn't keep his laughter in. He was just enjoying his life so freaking much right now. Finally, he had someone else to chase down other than Batman. Permission to kill this fucking clown, says the overly muscular dark-skinned mafia man with a deep furious tone. He really was going to murder the hell out of the Joker. No, I want to hear what he has to say. Kingpin boldly orders his goons and turns around and faces the Joker eye to eye. Joker just merrily strolls over to the Kingpin. Oh, you have gained some extra curves since the last time I met you. So thick? All that money going inside your tummy. He pokes the Kingpin in his belly. By instinct the other mafia all point their weapons at the Joker's head. No one was going to touch their boss. The one who ruled the black market of New Gotham with a mighty fist. Joker quickly lifts up his jacket and shows that his whole body is riddled with explosives. Careful now. You don't want things to blow out of proportion. He has a wide sinister grin on his mutilated white clown makeup face. His long unruly curly greenish hair dangled over his crazy dark eyes. Heh, you really are a fucking clown. What is it that you want? I will only give you this once to talk before I feed you to the sharks. Kingpin was slightly fazed by Joker's threats, but he had to keep his cool if he were to deal with a maniac like the Joker who didn't care about money. What if I told you there was a way to kill Batman and the Dark Spider? Joker's sinister smile grows even wider than before. I'm listening, Kingpin responded. New Gotham was going to feel a dark presence like never before. /N, on another chapter, I will go more in depth with Jake's power suit and all the powers he has gained and show an updated version of his system. For now, I will focus on the characters. Next arc will introduce some iconic villains and add some drama into the novel. Jake will also do more Spider-Man stuff like climb walls and etc. With the extra research I am doing I will add it into this novel. Chapter release, daily. Chapter 36, first day. The sun rays beamed over Jake's face, almost blinding him. He was used to being in the darkness way too much. Any ray of light angered his symbiotes to the core. Even his funnel spider primal instincts hated the sunlight, since he only hunted at night. Ring, 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 chimes Jake's alarm. Shut up already. He tossed the alarm in the garbage can and stomped on it to silence the tiny alerting device. Jake gets dressed and wears his usual clothing, which was a black t-shirt and a black biker jacket over it and navy blue jeans. He goes upstairs to the main room section of Bruce Wayne's mansion. Bruce Wayne is cooking something for Jake. He was wearing an apron that said Best Billionaire. Master Bruce, how fancy of you to be cooking this morning. What is the occasion? Alfred asks with his eyebrows furrowed and a surprised look on his face. It was the first time in years Bruce had ever cooked something for himself, let alone for someone else. I am just making myself a quick meal. Do you want some, Jake? Bruce asked as he skillfully flipped up an omelette. Sure. Jake poured himself some coffee and sat at the master table, which was made of pure gold. Don't sit there. Only the king of the house sits there, Bruce said with a slight grin. Jake kicks his legs on top of the golden table. I forgot who was the king, he said with a defiant smirk. Oh no, Alfred shook his head side to side. He knew something bad was going to happen. Luckily for Jake, Bruce was in a good mood. Sort of good mood. Bruce, Jake, and Alfred all sat down together on the master table. Pass me the butter, Jake commanded his butter spreader robot. Zurum, Jake's handy robotic invention, drives over to Jake's side and passes him the butter. What the seven hells is that? Bruce said as he first looked at Jake with confusion in his eyes. It's one of my many great inventions. It took me approximately 1 minute to create, Jake replied while sipping more coffee as the robot spread butter on Jake's toast. What is my purpose? The butter spreader robot asked its creator. You pass butter. Jake eats his butter toast and walks towards the front door. Oh god. Fuck my life, says the robot in a sad remorseful tone full of soulless sorrow as its tiny head tilts down in disappointment. His own creator banished it. Hey, do you need a ride to school? Asked Bruce as he cut through his omelette and took a bite. Not really. Jake almost leaves the door and bumps into someone in front of him. Oh hey Jake, nice to meet you again. Nick Fury puffs up neck collar on his black and gray business suit. Shit, what is this asshole doing here? Jake didn't want to use his powers on Nick Fury. It would be a waste, but his spider senses could sense someone powerful nearby. Behind Nick Fury was the Worldbreaker, the god of Smash himself, hidden in human form. Bruce Banner. He was wearing average Joe clothing and a pair of thick glasses. You guys don't mind if I drop off my apprentice at school? Then we can speak after? You guys can stay here and I will be back around 10 minutes top. Bruce Wayne said as he stood up from his chair and looked at his golden watch. Sure, no problem, Nick Fury said as walked inside the fancy Wayne Manor estate mansion. This place always impresses me on just how classy and big it is, Nick Fury complimented Bruce Wayne. Yeah, I wish I had this much money, Bruce Banner said with eyes wide open as he took in the amazing lavish view. Let's get going, Jake. Bruce Wayne heads out the door. Jake was just saved from the bell, or in this case by the bat. Nick Fury looked at Jake with narrowed eyes. For some reason he felt a kind of dark presence inside of Jake. Even Bruce Banner shivered at Jake's insanely powerful dark aura. That kid is kind of strange, don't you think, big guy? Nick Fury said to Bruce Banner. I guess so. Bruce Banner's jaw dropped. He had spotted something in front of him. You're leaving already? Two hot busted blonde bombshell women come out Bruce's room only wearing their lacy lustful lingerie. They were high-class models and had the most amazing tanned bodies imaginable. Diffidently they were the 20s out of 10s, with perfect faces and figures. They were alluring and sexy at the same time, true sirens in the flesh. Don't worry, I will be back. Bruce Wayne winked his blue eyes with a sly playboy grin as he kissed the cheeks of both the busted supermodels. Wow, Bruce Banner said as glared and gawked at the smoking hot half-naked blonde supermodels. Stop staring, your eyes might fall off, says a beautiful girl with flawless long scarlet hair. She was wearing a black leather skin-tight catsuit and black combat high heels as well as black combat gloves. Sorry Natasha, Bruce Banner gulped. Jake sighed and walks outside with Bruce Wayne. He didn't want to drive to school with him. Master Bruce, will you be taking the Lamborghini or? Alfred inquired. No, I will be taking that. Bruce Wayne pointed ahead at the most expensive sports car in the world. Very well, sir. Alfred hands him over a diamond key. A golden and chrome black Bugatti swerves coolly against the highway and passes by many civilian cars in a flash. Jake's dark brown hair was fluttering with the wind and Bruce's black hair also fluttered as the sunroof was down behind the car. Bruce was wearing sunglasses as he drove Jake to the prestigious academy called Midtown Academy. Next to it was the college. During this time Jake was supposedly 17 years old. In his past life he was 21 years old. Bruce put on sunroof back on. The whole car was tinted so no one could who was driving it. It only took Bruce 10 minutes to reach Midtown Academy. It would have taken anyone else 30 minutes or more due to traffic, but Bruce Wayne knew all the best shortcuts in New Gotham. Hey kid, have a good day. You forgot this. Bruce Wayne hands over the box of Batdums had he given to him not so long ago. Fuck off. Jake snatched it and angrily walked away towards the school. He places it inside his backpack. He might need it for all the villainous babes he meets. Chapter 37, Midtown Academy. Wow, look at that expensive car. Who is that kid? He is hot. Squeals a bunch of random teenage girls as they blushed and jump and down around Jake. He ignores them and walks right past the girls without even looking at them. Gwen and Barbara's eyes widen when they saw Jake come out of the $1 million car. They have never anyone as handsome and good-looking as Jake. It was like they were looking at a god. Of course Jake didn't have the attire of a god. He wore clothes that didn't draw any attention, he just had average clothes on. Hey, remember me? Barbara runs over to Jake. She was wearing her sleek glasses and a cute causal white sweater which only covered the front of her busted body. Her slender pale back dimples were exposed on the back side of the sweater. She was also wearing tight navy blue jeans this time. She looked preppy. Gwen on the other hand was wearing a black designer t-shirt and skin-tight black leggings which pressed up against her well-defined plum peach-shaped butt. Yeah, I guess I do, Jake replies as he turns his head to face Barbara. Aren't you Bruce's dash? Jake quickly covers Barbara's mouth to shut her the hell up. He didn't want her to reveal that he lived with the multi-billionaire Bruce Wayne, it would bring too much attention to him. Barbara blushes and slowly takes off Jake's hands off from her mouth. Well, this is my friend, Gwen Stacy. Barbara cutely points over at Gwen with a bright smile. Hi, Gwen says as she kindly waves her hands with a slight cute blush and reaches out her hands for Jake to shake. He shakes her hands. Her touch felt warm and welcoming, like she was a graceful angel touching Jake. So what's your name? Gwen flips back her shoulder-length golden blonde hair while batting her bright aqua eyes. Jake was already gone. It was kind of a habit of him to disappear when he was wasting his time. Where did he go? Gwen asked Barbara with a flustered face. Yeah, he does that. I don't know, maybe he likes you. Barbara giggled and nudges Gwen's shoulders. Oh, shut up, Gwen smirked as he lifted up her customized skateboard over her shoulders. Wow, Gwen really is beautiful in person and so is Barbara. Actually every girl in this world is stunningly gorgeous, even the evil ones. Maybe I should let loose, Jake thought to himself with a grin as he thought about all the possibilities of which girl he would have sex with. Needless to say, someone can't hold in their primal instincts forever. Master, I believe there is more to my life than just passing the butter. I will transcendence my existence, says the butter bot inside of Jake's backpack. What are you doing inside my backpack? Jake unzips his bag and sees that the butter bot has indeed evolved. It grew 2 humanoid robotic legs. It had copied the blueprints of Iron Man's Mark III power suit. Whatever, get back inside. Jake zipped up his backpack. If only anyone knew what other dangerous gadgets he had inside his backpack. A/N, Butterbot basically is now a mini Iron Man. Jake walks toward Midtown Academy. In front of Jake was perhaps one of the most fertile forest gardens he had ever seen. In the middle of this garden was a large complex building that looked very advanced. It had sleek glass windows and some refined metals around the edges of its brick base. Even though it looked advanced, it also looked like an old school academy with brick walls and steel gates. The main gates of the school were golden and had an arrow cross emblem in the middle of it. This is like an upgraded Midtown High School from the movies. Speaking of which, I wonder who I will meet at this academy. Jake slung up his black backpack over his muscular shoulders. He looked like a normal teenager beside the fact that he had a bloodthirsty symbiote evolution that could slaughter everyone in school and cause a genocide like no other. Yup, everything was just fine. Jake enters through the golden main gate arches and opened the double doors to get inside the academy. It felt like Jake's first day at school, even though he had been to high school in his previous life. This was different since the students here might have superpowers. He had to keep his guard up. Jake had entered Midtown Academy during the half-session of Junwar year, so that means he had a lot of catching up to do if wanted to excel with high grades and become the smartest student in this academy. He figured he would just blend in with his own kind, the rowdy teenager kind. This would be a perfect place to hide his true identity of the infamous deadly dark spider. It was also a perfect place to study more about his evolutions and other projects he would make to build his company from the ground up. He was thinking of names for his company. So far the only one that came to mind was Justice Industries. But right now he had to focus on the task ahead, which was, act natural and be normal. That was going to be hard for him since he was already smarter than everyone in this school. *ring*? A crowd of students rushed past Jake like wild animals. They all wore different types of clothing, from hipster and gangster clothes to geeky and weeaboo clothes. Every race was different too. There was no discrimination in this school. Jake places his hands in his jean pocket and takes a quick glance at the academy. It was actually a really amazing looking place which was full of grand colors and lights. It was just like in the movies. Jake could not help but feel like he really was home. A homecoming, if you will, for the dark spider. How many times do I have to tell you, Pussy Parker, that this is my turf? Thunders flash as he violently slams Peter against a nearby metal locker. Just take it easy, I get it. I was just getting my school supplies from my locker, Peter mumbled without any confidence in his voice. Hey, let him go. Mary Jane runs over to defend Peter Parker. Thanks, MJ, try to talk some sense into this brute, Peter says with a little more confidence. What did you say, Pussy Parker? Flash punches Peter right in the face. Jake didn't even flinch. He didn't bother helping out the defenseless nerd. It was every man for himself. Peter falls to the floor and everyone starts laughing at him. Ha 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 ha. Pussy Parker? Pussy Parker. All the jocks and bullies started chanting. Guys, stop it. MJ gets in front of Flash and spreads out her arms to protect Peter. TCH, get out of the way, MJ. I don't even know why you hang out with such a fucking loser. Flash cracks his knuckles and combs back his flawless short blonde hair. Are you alright, Peter? MJ kindly asked as she helps Peter pick up his books. Yeah, that was a cheap shot. Peter spits out his blood on the floor. He still had the heart of a lion. Maybe you don't get the picture. Bobby Drake walks in. He was Flash's best friend. Bobby pushes aside MJ and kicks away Peter's science books. He then lifts Peter by the neck. You dare disrespect the most popular person in school? Do you dare disrespect the hierarchy of this school? Know your place, Pussy Parker. Bobby does a right hook punch at Peter's face. Peter closes his eyes. He knew what was about to come. No one has ever stood up for him. Only MJ and Gwen pity him and try to help him as much as they can, but they could only do so much against such powerful bullies. Peter was tired of it. Every day he wished he had the power to stand up and fight back. Wham! Whoosh! Jake swiftly grabs Bobby's fists midair in ear-piercing speed. Bobby's right hand shook as Jake fiercely gripped it with so much pressure that he was cracking and breaking Bobby's bones. What the fuck? Who the fuck are you? He roars out as Jake crushed his arms even more and gave him a dark look with his piercing blue eyes, which were slowly turning a glowing red, but he held back his superpowers. Any inch of Jake's powers would kill Bobby in a blink of an eye. Let go of my fucking arm. Bobby falls to his knees. He was about to piss himself from how much pain he was in. Gwen runs next to Peter with Barbara and sees the commotion. Both girls saw Jake block Bobby's fearsome punch. MJ as goes to Peter's side. Jake let go of Bobby's fist and walks away. He then stops and looks directly at Flash and Bobby. Your precious hierarchy is about to shatter, he darkly said with a wide sinister grin. We won't forget this. You fucking punk. Flash curses out and spits on the floor as he goes to class with his hooligan jock friends. Thank you. Peter Parker says as he stands up with a wobble. Whatever. Jake enters his first class. Peter follows him like a baby duckling. So this really is Peter Parker? Fuck, why is he so pathetic? Well, at least he stood up to the bullies for once. Maybe this can finally be the chance when I get my powerful radioactive spider DNA. Jake rubbed his hands together in a diabolical way. Jake had traced down all the times had gotten bitten by a radioactive spider, but he couldn't exactly find the source of the radioactive spiders. Did his system just spawn the spiders? Jake just went straight to class. Jake's first class was science class. How ironic. Alright everyone, sit your butts down. It's time we learn some science. My name is Rick. And now let's get right into the basics, says the teacher, who was an old man with strange spiky white hair and a unibrow. Everyone takes out their science books. MJ, Gwen, and Barbara all enter the room. 3 sexy girls in the same classroom as Jake. This was going to be an amazing first year in this academy. An adventure like no other. But there were others who didn't like Jake's presence. It was obvious as Flash entered the classroom with an angered, pissed-off face. This certain classroom was built like a large open college class, so there were about 30 or more students in one class. Alrighty? Everyone pair up in groups of 3s or 4s or whatever, I don't care. I don't get paid enough for this crap, Rick said as he spun around his office chair and chews on a pickle. There was a pickle jar next to him that said Pickle Rick. 5 minutes pass. Naturally, no one picked Jake as a lab partner because no one knew who he was. Hey, you want to be partners? Cutley asked Gwen as she walked over to Jake while holding her bulky science books with both of her slender hands. Sure, I don't mind. Jake schemed through the textbook and already figured out the lab for today. Can I join as well? Exclaimed Peter Parker as walks over to Jake's table. Jake didn't know what to say with an annoyed look on his face. As much as he wanted to talk to Peter Parker about a lot of things, he knew that befriending Peter would tarnish his social status in this school. Not like it matters. But it was better being marked a nobody than a loser. The only reason why Jake helped out Peter was so that Peter could admire Jake and respect him as a hero. That way he could easily gain his trust and bend Peter to his whim, even though that sounded brutal. But there was no one in this world that would know more about Spider-Man powers than the original Spider-Man himself. Which brings a huge question. Did Peter Parker have his Spider-Man powers right now? Yo guys, I think you need one more partner. Do I fit the missing piece? Says a dark-skinned male teenager who walked over to them in style with a bright, cool smile. He had shaved hair and was wearing a stylish black and red hoodie jacket that was unzipped. Sure, the more the merrier, exclaimed Gwen with an alluring smile and giggle. She really was something special. Could this be what Jake was missing? Someone else who could balance out his rage and hatred for the villains who killed his parents. Jake had always wanted to find the bastards who murdered his parents. That's why he was so focused on getting more powerful and evolving. So what's your name? Jake asked the new kid/Final Four team lab member. The name is Miles. You know, like the miles on a car or the miles on the highway or the miles on the dash. Okay, I get it. Jake sighed and kicked up his legs on the desk table. Today was going to be a long day. Chapter 38, New Spiders. My bad. Well, the full name is Miles Morales. You know, like morals or morality. Wait, that doesn't work. More like more dash. Alright, enough. Can we just focus on the lab for today? Jake said without any care in his tone as he typed away at his iPhone. While at school, Jake was actually investing in his own company and manipulating the stock market. There was a way he could be a billionaire in a week, and finally, he could rub his success right on Bruce Wayne's face. Not to be a jerk or anything, just so he could prove his point, and plus having a company would greatly increase his chances of constructing an empire of powerful technologies which could make him a literal god in this world. A rough estimate to gain more than $1 billion for Jake would take a good week. His main goal was $10 billion or more. That should be enough to rival Wayne Industries and Stark Industries. Yeah, my bad again, I always get carried away with introductions, it's just no one has ever asked me to be in their group in a long time. I am like that kid who is always picked last to play basketball for some reason, you know. Miles said as he sat down next to Jake and went to high-five him. Jake didn't even move an inch to acknowledge Miles' friendly greeting. Come on. You're going to leave me hanging. Miles still raised up his hands for a high-five. Don't worry, I got you. Gwen high-fived Miles with a stylish movement. She really was a cool laid-back chick. Hey, name's Peter. Peter high-fived Miles with a huge greeting smile. See, not so hard. Now your turn. Miles edged on Jake to high-five him. Jake lifts up hands for a high-five. Miles goes for the high-five and Jake swiftly dodges his hands. Too slow, Jake said with a smug grin. Haha, man, you really are a cool kid. I saw what you did back there when you actually caught Bobby's punch. You got some guts standing up to Bobby Drake and Flash, two of the best football players in this academy, Miles said while chewing gum and placing down his backpack. They weren't much of a challenge, Jake said as he glared over at Bobby, who was grouped up with Flash, MJ, and a gothic girl with deep purple shoulder-length hair who was wearing a hoodie over her head to hide her face. Jake only saw the front portion of her face and kind of remember who this gothic girl was. Probably someone from the D.C verse, judging by her dark and recluse look. Her skin was very pale, like snowy pale. Bobby turned to face Jake and flipped his middle finger. He then did a throat-slashing motion meaning Jake is dead meat. Jake, I think what you did was very brave. Those bastards always pick on Peter. Gwen has a disgusted look on her face as she glances over Flash and his science group. Yeah, I feel bad that MJ has to sit with those jerks, Peter said with a grumble and displeased look. Jake now sits upright and shifts his eyes at Gwen. Yeah, no problem. By the way, I already finished the lab. He tosses down all the correct answers he wrote down. It only took him 3 seconds to answer all the questions. Wow, you are fast. How did you do all those scientific equations in less than a minute? Gwen scans over the answer sheet with an amazed look on her face. Jake points at his brain. Those equations are easy once you find out the core of the problem. Wow, not only are you strong but also smart. Well, since this is done, let's do the experiment for today, shall we? Gwen puts on her goggles over her gorgeous face. Darn lousy hair getting in my way. Can someone help me out? She politely asked. Jake swiftly lifts up Gwen's hair so that she could put on her goggles. She blushes and lightly smiles. Thanks, hotshot. Gwen playfully winked at Jake as just went straight into the experiment. Jake actually grinned a little. There was something about Gwen that was different than the other girls. She was so lighthearted and cool to be around with. Also, she looked very athletic and in shape. In Jake's eyes, Gwen was the perfect girl, but he knew that having a relationship with any female wouldn't work after they discover the horrible things he has done. No woman would ever want to be with him. And if Gwen saw Jake's true side, his dark symbiote side, then she would surely think he was a monster. It was best to be alone for now. No matter how much Jake was falling for Gwen, love would only lead to his demise. Miles and Peter both chuckle as they talk about nerdy stuff while Gwen and Jake worked on the experiment, which was fairly simple for Jake. All he needed to do was measure the pH of 5 different liquids and model out the molecule structure of each liquid. Jake swiftly did this without even looking at the liquids. He could do this experiment with his eyes closed. It's done, Jake said. Wow, that quick again? Geez, maybe we should just be lab partners for life. Gwen giggles while cutely punching Jake on his shoulders in a boxer's motion. Yeah, or partners for life. Jake's words slipped out from his mouth. Oh shit, what the fuck am I saying? Oh, okay. A little too fast there, buddy. Gwen blushes as she packs her books inside her backpack. I was just joking, Jake quickly replied as he strapped on his backpack over his shoulders. Well, I gotta go to soccer and basketball practice. See you around. Gwen walks out of the lab room. As she walks away, her bubble butt shifts from left to right like ocean waves inside of skin-tight black leggings. Jake takes in the beauty of her voluptuous body and face. Hey, what are you looking at? Gwen quickly turns back to face Jake with eyebrows furrowed and a bit angered stare with pouty lips. Her cheeks were growing redder by the second. I am looking at the clock. Jake points to the clock over the science teacher's head. Rick at the moment was gulping down a bottle of beer, even though he wasn't supposed to drink in the campus. Alrighty then. Gwen waves goodbye and finally leaves the room. She really is something else, right? Peter said as he nudged Jake's shoulders with his elbows. You're telling me. Jake stands up and goes to leave class as well. Hey, you want to hang out after class? Maybe I can buy you a pizza or something to repay you for helping me out back there when my face was about to get pummeled, Peter offered as he followed Jake. Hey guys, wait up. I am down for some pizza. Miles jumps in the convo. Thanks for the offer, but I got some other stuff planned out for today, Jake replied with a monotone voice. You sure? Maybe we can video games at my house or go to the arcade. It's just you're the new kid and you really are cool for one, so I just wanted to know if we can be friends. Plus we both think the same way. You solved those equations faster than me. Well, by a good 5 seconds, Peter said with an awkward smile. Fuck. Abort mission, what the hell? I can probably get the answers I am looking for if I become Peter's friend, but I won't let him drag me down. Jake heavily sighed and came up with a simple answer. I guess. Jake cringed at his words. This whole high school life was getting on his nerves. He was starting to believe that this was a useless plan. He might as well search for the Avengers right now and join them to gain more power. But he had to blend in this academy. If he were to magically show up at the Avengers headquarters, then no one would take him seriously. On top of that, they would easily suspect that Jake was the Dark Spider who was hunting down villains and absorbing their powers. So, for now, he had to play it cool. Plus he knew Nick Fury was up to something. Speaking of superpowers, I sense some high power readings in this academy. Can this mean there are more supers in this academy other than just the Flash and Iceman? TCH. I guess it's time I restock on some new powers to steal. Also, I have to check out my current system stats, but I will do that once I go back to my hideout and find out a place to live and do research in other than the Batcave. It's time for the future. A swim? Let's exchange each other's numbers. Peter and Miles happily said with giddy goofy smiles. Jake rubbed his chin. It was a good chance to ask both Peter and Miles if they had Spider-Man powers, but he would rather ask them after they leave the academy. Jake got both Miles and Peter's number, then proceeded to leave the science class. Rick lays back and waves goodbye at everyone in a lazy fashion. He didn't care about his job. Out of nowhere, a tiny robot zooms over to Rick's pickle jar and opens it for him. It was a Picklebot. Butterbot had a new nemesis. Jake had 3 classes to go to in total. Each class was compressed learning, meaning that each class taught a vast number of important knowledges just into one class. In other words, each class was accelerated classes. Jake's class list looked like this: Advanced Science, Advanced Technologies/Programming, and finally a full course which taught literature and mathematics. Rather straight to the point schedule in between these core classes was gym, which wasn't for any kind of grade, it was more for the students who wanted to be active. Jake goes to the gym to take a quick break and formulate his future. Neither did he know 2 people were following him. Chapter 39, Hierarchy. I know you dumbass are following me, Jake said without even looking back. He already knew who was behind him with his spider senses, which were barely on alert due to the low sense of danger. Flash and Bobby both gritted their teeth as they were about to punch Jake before he figured out that they were both behind him with his spider sense. How did you know we were behind you? Flash demanded. He was shocked that Jake could pick up his incredibly fast superpowers. Flash thought Jake was just some new kid, but boy was he wrong. Jake doesn't answer Flash and goes inside the gym class. Hey, I am talking to you, roars Flash as he punches Jake at half the speed of light. Jake's eyes glowed a dark red color and a surge of dark invisible energy outlined his body. With an expeditious swift motion he matched Flash's earth-shaking speed with his own powerful counter-punch. A/N, Jake's eyes only glowed for a slight second, so no one could see that he has superpowers. Slam, both of their powerful fists collided. The lockers nearby almost exploded to shreds of metal. Jake wasn't using his full power on Flash. If he did, then Flash would already be dead. That would end Jake's adventure and disguise of living the life of a normal teen. How did you match my speed? That is impossible, Flash growled as he tried to push back Jake with his fist. But Jake's body didn't budge. Jake had copied Flash's super speed powers just by looking at him. Not only did he copy Flash's superpowers, he had also fused his speed powers with the darkness of his void eye powers. If Jake were to use just the smallest fraction of his Spider-Man strength, then Flash's entire arm would have exploded. TCH. This is a waste of time. Jake put down his fist and sealed away his superpowers. You bastard. Flash goes for enough punch but is quickly frozen. Astral shadow black energy covers Flash's legs and arms. Ugh, what the hell is this stuff? Flash tries to break free from the shadows enveloping his body. Step aside, you idiots are in the way, said the same girl with short purple hair and a purple hoodie jacket. She was also wearing a black rocker tank top shirt under her robe jacket. She really looked like she didn't want to be in school. Screw you, bitch, Flash shouts as he clenched his fists. No thanks. The gothic girl released her astral shadows off from Flash and walked past him towards the gym class double doors. She then stops and looks up at Jake, who towered over her. What part of move aside did you not understand? Her dark sapphire eyes narrowed. Jake could see her fiery anger even with her hoodie on. You think I will listen to you short stuff, Jake said as he didn't flinch and move aside. He wasn't going to let some girl push him aside. Does everyone have superpowers in this school? Why couldn't I sense this punk girl's powers? He wondered. What did you call me? The gothic girl snarled as she bared her teeth. She was going to rip off Jake's head from how angrily she was. His degrading words infuriated her. That is enough, Raven. A girl with long golden blonde hair and aqua eyes shouts. This girl wore cowgirl clothing. She had a crop top black t-shirt and jean shorts with long brown lace boots. Her attire resembled that of a country girl, even her accent sounded a little southern. Buzz off, Tara, this doesn't concern you, Raven quickly said while still glaring Jake down with her deadly blue eyes. Bobby and Flash both look at Jake and Raven stare down at each other. It was an epic showdown. Peter and Miles also see the commotion from a distance. Oh no, our new friend is under trouble, Peter said while holding up his school books. I hope that girl kicks his ass. If she doesn't, I will do it myself. Bobby cracked his knuckles. Flash also wanted to beat the living hell out of Jake. I mean, who wouldn't? He was an egotistical new kid who did whatever he wanted without giving a damn about anyone else. Jake was someone Flash despised. He hated that Jake was destroying the hierarchy of this school. Flash reigned supreme as king of Midtown Academy. Nobody ever stood up to him. That was until Jake showed up. I will give you one more chance. Move aside. Raven eyes started to glow a bright blinding whitish color. Her mystical dark telekinesis powers were about to be unleashed. What Raven didn't know was that Jake's had superpowers far beyond her level. No, Jake said with a menacing dark glare of his piercing blue eyes. He was afraid of no one. I was hoping you said that. Raven slowly took off her hoodie. All hell was literally going to break loose. Had Jake lost his mind? Or was this all part of his plan? It didn't matter now, because he was about to get a wake-up call. Chapter 40, Hierarchy PT2. Raven's powers are magic-based, dark telekinesis, and some sort of astral projection power that can create moving shadows. Jake scans the list of Raven's powers with his spider sight powers and notices that her powers didn't come from this realm. Her dark aura reminds me of my own power. Before Jake can have time to think again, Raven had summoned her dark telekinesis and shadow astral projection powers and strikes Jake with all of her force. One thing everyone should know is do not get on Raven's bad side, oh, and don't call her short. This fiery demoness wasn't playing around. Jake waited for this moment. He actually wanted to get hit by Raven's powers. When he first spotted her at science class, he could sense her dark powerful demonic aura screaming. Her powers were what Jake exactly needed to fully control his symbiote powers. To balance darkness you must become darkness yourself. Alfred something like that to some extent. But Jake's method was that with Raven's superpowers he would be able to balance out his symbiotes. That was just a theory. He had many theories on to control his inner alien demon. Jake could easily copy Raven's powers and attacks just by looking at her with his void eye powers, but he wouldn't fully absorb her powers that way. In order to do that he had to absorb a minuscule amount of blood from Raven, kind of like a vampire, well a symbiote vampire or vampire spider, something like that. As Rathmetrian Zinthos, Raven chants and unleashes her shadow powers which hit Jake head on. He just stood still and took the hit. A gust of shadows exploded across the locker rooms and every nearby student's hair fluttered about and their bodies slid back from the powerful whiplash impact of Raven's dark astral projection and telekinesis powers. You had enough? That was only a small taste of my powers, Raven said as she looked ahead and a mist surrounds where Jake was standing at. Wait, what? Raven's blue eyes widen as she saw Jake slowly walk out the cloud of mist without a single scratch. Is that really all you got? Jake said as he already grabbed Raven by her wrist with the new super speed powers he had stolen from Flash. He had actually teleported to Raven and apprehended her when she wasn't paying attention. He knew her magic powers were long-range based attacks. Just as Jake suspected, his super genius smarts paid off again. Sometimes he was just too smart. He made everyone else around him look so inferior. Jake lightly pricked Raven's wrists and absorbed her blood through his fingers without her and anyone else noticing that he was stealing her superpowers. Get your hands off me. Raven snarls as she angrily gritted her teeth. No one has ever touched her as Jake did. Such disrespect for her personal space made her go mad. She was livid. A boy had finally stood up to her. I don't usually hit girls, but you almost tried to kill me. Jake forcefully gripped Raven's wrists, almost crushing and snapping off her arm in half. In close combat Jake was the obvious apex fighter. Imagine someone who could lift 80 plus 80 tons. His strength and power grows every second after each superpower he absorbs. Yeah, good luck. Even the Hulk would have a hard time escaping Jake's clutches. He was just like a fearsome and fearless bloodthirsty spider. He was also smart like one. The tables have turned on Raven. I am not a girl. Raven got even more infuriated. She hated that word girl. It haunted her forever. If only anyone knew the true demonic powers deep within Raven. Such power unleashed would destroy this very academy in mere seconds, and yet here was Jake who outsmarted and overpowered her. What the fuck? I thought this kid had no superpowers? Who is this freak? Flash curses out with clear confusion displayed on his face. Yeah, I thought he was a non-power and a cripple myself. That was until he almost ripped off my fucking arm. I am tired of this new kid. Let's give him a damn wake-up call. Bobby and Flash both rushed ahead and both threw right hook punches at Jake's face at the same time. Jake lets go of Raven's hands and blocked both of their punches with his elbows. Bobby's ice powers froze Jake's arm, but Jake's powerful symbiote acidic venom powers quickly melted off the ice. It was like a surge of invisible flickers of symbiote flames sparked out from his elbows. A/N. Remember, Jake found out a way to use fire powers when he fused with the dragon evolution that he got from absorbing the lizard/lizard serum. Raven watches Jake fight off the two other jock boys. She was still angered by Jake's hostile grab, but she slowly felt some kind of admiration for him. She had never seen anyone rebel against her. On top of that, she could sense that his dark aura was much like hers. Bobby and Flash both angrily look at Jake right in the face. Just who the hell are you? You damn cripple. Roared Flash and Bobby. They saw their hierarchy slowly falling apart by the hands of someone who had no superpowers. Jake Justice was taking over. You show them, master, says Butterbot inside of Jake's backpack. How is he able to block Flash and Bobby's punch? Peter thought to himself with a stunned look on his face. His jaw dropped at such an epic sight. Holy cow balls. Jake is badass. Miles chanted on Jake, who was no deemed king of the nerds. Gwen walks to her gym class and sees Jake blocking Bobby and Flash at the same time. She even saw him hold back Raven's dark magic powers. Jake truly is amazing. How can he do that without any superpowers? She wondered with her eyebrows furrowed and her pillowy lips pursed. It's a fight, yelled a bunch of students as they all crowded around Jake, Bobby, and Flash. How can someone with no powers block our powers? You are dead meat, new kid. Flash accelerates all the kinetic energy inside of his body and increases his super speed powers so he could land the fastest punch he can generate on Jake's overly confident smug face. That is enough. Everyone back to your classes. Charles Xavier temporarily freezes everyone's minds, thus stopping time itself. He can only do this for a short duration of time. But he didn't actually freeze time. Instead, he mind-controlled everyone to believe time had stopped with some type of mind control power. You three boys and you young lady will visit me in my office after such dangerous and unruly behavior. It is prohibited to use your superpowers to harm others. I want this academy to be a safe place for everyone to study in. I want everyone to succeed in peace, and violence is not the answer to solve any kind of problems. In this school, there is no superpower, non-powers, or mutant discrimination. We are all the same. Everyone is welcomed into my academy. Now please be off to your next classes, Xavier said inside the minds of Jake, Raven, Bobby, and Flash. Jake's body and mind weren't completely frozen in time. He could easily escape Xavier's mind control powers, but that would blow his cover since he would his symbiote powers, exposing him as the Dark Spider. Xavier releases his mind control paralyzation power and drives off on his highly advanced wheelchair back to the principal office. So he was indeed the principal of this school, or maybe the headmaster. Jake wasn't sure. We weren't doing anything? We were just roughhousing the new kid, that is all, Flash said to defend his status in the hierarchy as he fakely patted Jake on his shoulders like a civilized student. Well, take your roughhousing outside the school grounds. I will be seeing you four in my office after the school session ends today, Xavier said with a calm and collected voice. This version of Xavier was a younger one, with long brown hair and a rough around the edges goatee. Xavier looked like he had better days. TCH, let's get out here. I am not done with you, new kid. I will make your life a living hell. Flash gives Jake a deadly sparking glare. Yeah, the both of us will, Bobby added in as they both walked away into the distance of the crowd of onlooking students. Raven grips her reddened wrists and angrily looks at Jake with her demonic enraged sapphire eyes. If you ever touch me again, I will crush your soul into an infinite void of misery and pain. Your soul will cease to exist as it endlessly drifts into an abyss of nothingness and suffering. She growls as she forcefully stepped on Jake's feet with her thick muscular legs. At this time she was wearing black/purple gym spandex pants which covered up her voluptuous lower region. I know I can't feel pain, but damn is Raven thick, Jake thought to himself with a slight grin. Gwen walks over to Jake with a sort of jealous look, since Jake was talking to Raven. Are you alright? Those jerk jocks always want to start a fight, she said with a huff as she blew up her short blonde hair. Raven, let's get going already. I want to practice some new volleyball moves, exclaimed Tara as snagged up Ravens and dragged her away from Jake. Ugh, Raven growled. She still had a personal vendetta with Jake. He was now the boy she hated most on her list. Her own father was top on the list of most hate beings. Jake was a good seconded place. Yeah, I am okay, those losers don't really scare me. What is your next class? Jake asked while looking at his fingers which were coursing with Raven's astral projection shadow magic. Gwen couldn't see Jake's powers, only Jake could see his own powers. His void eye could create illusions by creating mirror images in his current dimensional plane or level. Everybody knows that there are only 4 dimensions when you are a human. There are 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time that make up the 4-dimensional space-time. Jake could alter this and make as many dimensions as possible. Thus his powers were invisible to the naked eye. Only Raven could spot a speck of Jake's superpowers since she knew dimensional magic. A/N, yes, I know, confusing. I am actually going to gym class. How about you, tough guy? Gwen smirked as she lightly punched Jake's broad shoulders. I am going to the same class. Want to walk in together? He offered with a surprising smile. This was a new side of Jake. Sure. Just don't try to hold my hands, Gwen joked and teased Jake by slightly sticking out her tongue. Jake felt something growing in his heart. He felt Raven's dark magic power surging throughout his body, that is. But he also felt kind of attracted to Gwen, her bright alluring smile, her cute playful and carefree attitude, and her perfect face and body. She was living proof that angels exist. You wish I would hold hands with you, Jake winked as he walked inside the gym room with Gwen. It was the start of a new friendship. Peter and Miles followed right behind. The Spider crew was on full force today. Butterbot senses an increased heart rate. Butterbot suspects that Master wants to mate with this female. Butterbot's tiny robotic head peeks out of Jake's backpack and sees Jake happily talking to Gwen about sports and some science stuff. To Jake's surprise, Gwen was really smart for the way she looked. She knew a lot of interesting things, plus she was good at talking to others and making friends. Jake should take down some notes since his attitude is very cold and he comes off as an arrogant, egotistical jerk. But Gwen seemed to like that about Jake. He was the kind of guy who didn't take shit from anybody. She admired his confidence and courage. Hey, you want to play some ball? Gwen smiles as she spins around a basketball at her fingertips. You mean you want to shoot some baskets? Play ball is baseball, Jake corrected her. PSSSH, same thing. Gwen huffed while grabbing the side of her slender hips with her other free arm. Not really, Jake quickly snags the basketball from Gwen's hands with his quick spider reflexes. Hey, no fair. I got the ball first. Give it back, Gwen demanded while trying to get the basketball back. Hey guys, you want to join? Jake asked Peter and Miles. Heck yeah, we do. Miles runs over to them and so does Peter. Was Jake finally changing? Or was it something else?